Close your eyes and let your thoughts drift slowly as we travel far back into time, far beyond the age of cities, beyond the rise of humanity, beyond even the age of the dinosaurs. Imagine yourself moving backwards through the clock of history, watching the familiar world unravel in reverse, oceans folding back together, mountains lowering into the seas, forests retracting, deserts shifting, and continents gliding silently across the surface of the planet. The Earth, which seems so solid and unchanging to us in our brief human lives, has always been alive with slow and majestic motion. And in this journey, we return to a time when there were no scattered continents, no oceans dividing landmass, but instead, one vast, continuous supercontinent, Pangea. The word itself comes from Greek roots, pan, meaning all, and gea, meaning earth. All Earth, united as one. Roughly 335 million years ago, this supercontinent began to take shape, and it would dominate the surface of our planet for over 100 million years. During this age, the world was a place both alien and strangely familiar. The same sun rose each morning, the same winds crossed the skies, but the shapes of the seas and the lands, the animals that roamed, and the very rhythm of life itself, followed a different pattern. As you listen, allow your breathing to slow, following the calm rhythm of the story. Picture the Earth as it once was, an enormous, singular landmass stretching from pole to pole, surrounded by the endless global ocean known as Pangea. No Atlantic Ocean yet, no Indian Ocean, no familiar divisions of continents. Just one giant body of land, ringed by one vast, encircling sea. To imagine Pangea, think of a jigsaw puzzle. The continents we know today fitting back together into their original arrangement. South America pressed against the western coast of Africa, their shapes clicking together as if they had always belonged side by side. North America connected to Europe and Greenland. Antarctica not at the frozen pole where we know it now, but nestled against Africa and India in a warmer place. Australia too, clinging close, not drifting alone in the southern seas. All of the scattered lands we know today were once one. The climate of Pangea was unlike anything on Earth now. Much of the supercontinent's interior was dry, arid, and vast. Without nearby oceans to bring rain inland, the heart of Pangea was dominated by enormous deserts, stretching further than the eye could ever see. Yet, along the coasts, rivers and lush swamps supported rich forests filled with life. Towering plants, some familiar, some strange, rose toward the sky, and early reptiles, amphibians, and insects thrived in these ecosystems. If you close your eyes now, you can imagine walking across one of Pangea's ancient landscapes. The air is warm and thick with moisture near the coast, but as you travel inward, the green begins to fade, trees give way to scrub, and then to open expanse of red sand under a blazing sun. The wind carries dust across rolling dunes, sculpting them into shapes that shift slowly over time. You walk for days and encounter no oceans, only land upon land, stretching endlessly. This was the reality of Pangea. Its sheer size created extremes, where coasts could be fertile, but interiors were barren and unforgiving. During Pangea time, Earth experienced some of the greatest changes in its history. Before Pangea formed, the continents had already been on a long journey. For billions of years, tectonic plates, the giant slabs of Earth's crust, drifted, collided, and separated. Continents merged into supercontinents before, such as Rodinia and Gondwana, and they would merge again in the far future. Pangea was just one chapter in the long cyclical story of continental drift, yet it was one of the most dramatic chapters of all, shaping life in profound ways. The animals that roamed Pangea were unlike any alive today, but they were also our distant ancestors. Early reptiles adapted to the dry environments of the supercontinent, evolving into diverse forms. In the lush lowlands, giant amphibians lurked in rivers and swamps. Insects grew to enormous sizes, some with wingspans as wide as a hawk. Life was abundant, but fragile. For Earth was entering a time of both flourishing and great upheaval. The Permian period, when Pangea reached its full formation, was a time of immense diversity, but it was also a time of looming catastrophe. Around 252 million years ago, the planet would face the greatest mass extinction in its history, the Permian-Triassic extinction event, sometimes called the Great Dying. More than 90% of species vanished from land and sea. The reasons are still studied today: massive volcanic eruptions, climate shifts, and disruptions in ocean chemistry all played a role. Pangea was both a stage for life's glory and the backdrop of its greatest trial. But for now, as we drift in imagination across its ancient surface, let us focus not on destruction, but on the beauty of what once was. The forests along Pangea's edges were filled with early conifers and seed ferns, plants that would give rise to many lineages we still know. Rivers wound slowly through fertile plains, where herds of reptiles grazed in the warmth. Along the shallow seas, reefs built by sponges and corals teemed with fish and early marine reptiles. The global ocean, Panthalassa, stretched endlessly, a deep blue expanse encircling the land. And within it, currents moved vast amounts of heat, shaping climates across the planet. Imagine standing on the shore of Pangea, waves of rolling endlessly before you. The horizon is unbroken, a circle of water surrounding everything. You know, deep down, that beyond that water lies not another continent, not another shore, but only more of the same ocean wrapping around the entire Earth. The feeling is both isolating and awe-inspiring, as if the world itself were simpler, more unified, yet immense beyond comprehension. Time passed slowly on Pangea, in rhythms measured not by human calendars, but by the steady turning of the Earth and the drift of plates beneath its crust. Mountains rose where continents collided, creating ranges larger than the Himalayas. These ranges, worn by time, carried rivers down into basins, feeding lush deltas where life thrived. The central deserts expanded and contracted with climate shifts, sometimes blooming with brief bursts of green when rains arrived, before retreating again to dry silence. Close your eyes and breathe deeply, imagining the wind of that ancient world. On your face, it carries the scent of unfamiliar plants, the distant roar of animals now long extinct. The Earth was alive then, as it is now, but alive in a way strange to our modern senses. And as you drift further into calmness, picture the slow journey of the continents. For though Pangea seemed eternal, even it was only temporary. Over tens of millions of years, the same forces that brought it together began to pull it apart. A crack opened in the land, slowly at first, then growing, splitting the supercontinent into pieces. Lava welled up from beneath, birthing the Atlantic Ocean. What was once united would fragment, and over millions of years more, the shapes of the continents as we know them began to emerge. But tonight, as you listen, the Earth is still whole. Pangea stretches endlessly, the oceans lap at its coasts, and life moves slowly through its forests, swamps, and deserts. The night sky shines down, the same stars we see today, though shifted slightly by time. The Milky Way glows above, eternal and steady, and in this ancient night, there is peace, a stillness that reaches across millions of years to touch you here and now. The world of Pangea, though vast and seemingly eternal, was never silent. Life stirred in every corner, filling the ancient landscapes with sound and motion. Imagine walking through a coastal forest at dusk, the air warm and thick, heavy with the scent of resin from tall conifers. In the branches above, insects hum softly, their wings shimmering in the fading light. Along the ground, small reptiles scurry between ferns, their scales catching the glow of the setting sun. Amphibians, long-bodied and watchful, emerge from shallow pools as the coolness of night begins to spread. In the distance, the ocean whispers endlessly against the shoreline, a rhythm as old as time. The forests of Pangea were not quite like the forests we know today. There were no flowering plants yet, no blossoms to scent the air, no bees to flit between them. Instead, the greenery was dominated by ancient lineages of plants, tall conifers with needle-like leaves, broad-seed ferns with fronds that stretched wide, and horsetails that rose like pillars in marshy soils. These plants had evolved in an earlier world, and they carried with them a timeless quality, their forms strange yet familiar. In the swamps, giant club mosses towered, remnants of a lineage that had once grown forests the size of skyscrapers in earlier ages. As the night deepens, you might hear the distant croak of amphibians calling from hidden waters, a sound echoing across millions of years. Frogs, as we know them, had not yet appeared, but their ancient relatives were already masters of the twilight, their voices rising with the stars. Crickets and other insects sang too, their songs carried on gentle breezes that rustled the undergrowth. The world was alive with a chorus of beings, each following rhythms set by the turning earth. The animals of Pangea lived in a balance that was delicate, yet enduring. Reptiles, freed from the dependence on water that limited the amphibians, spread far into the dry interiors of the continent. They developed scales to hold in moisture, eggs that could survive outside of water, and bodies built for movement across open terrain. Some were small and nimble, darting between rocks and brush. Others grew larger, their slow steps leaving tracks across dusty plains. Predators evolved sharp teeth and claws, while plant-eaters developed strong jaws to chew through the tough fronds and needles of Pangea's flora. Farther inland, the landscape was harsher. The deserts of Pangea stretched further than any desert we know today, endless waves of sand rolling beneath the blazing sun. The skies were vast and clear, unbroken by forests, and the horizon shimmered in the heat. Here, life had to be resilient, adapting to extremes of temperature and scarcity of water. Early reptiles with thick armored bodies trudged slowly across the sands, conserving every drop of moisture. Some dug burrows to escape the heat, retreating into the earth during the hottest hours of the day. Above, the air was often silent, broken only by the whisper of the wind shaping dunes into shifting ridges. And yet, even in these deserts, there was life. In hidden oases, where rivers carved through the sands, small ecosystems flourished. Ferns clustered along the banks, insects danced in the air, and reptiles gathered in the shade. Life found a way, as it always does, even in the harshest reaches of Pangea's great expanse. Traveling back toward the coasts, the climate softened. Rivers wound their way to the oceans, carrying silt that fed fertile deltas. Here, the land was green and teeming with activity. Herds of plant-eating reptiles grazed, their bodies swaying as they moved slowly through the undergrowth. Predators stalked carefully, their eyes sharp, their movements precise, waiting for the right moment to strike. The balance between hunter and prey was timeless, written into the fabric of life itself. Beneath the surface of Panthalassa, life was equally rich. The ocean stretched endlessly, but near the coasts, shallow seas nurtured coral reefs and schools of fish. Trilobites, though fading from their ancient dominance, still lingered in the waters. New species of fish darted quickly through reefs, while early marine reptiles swam with grace, their sleek forms adapted to the vast, open blue. The ocean was a world of its own, vast and unmeasured, its depths holding mysteries we can scarcely imagine. The cycles of day and night in Pangea were the same as ours, yet somehow they carried a different weight. The sun rose over one massive land, casting its light across an unbroken horizon. As it moved across the sky, shadows lengthened over deserts, forests, and coasts alike. When it set, the stars revealed themselves, sharp and brilliant in a world untouched by artificial light. The constellations looked familiar, but shifted slightly, for the slow movement of Earth's axis and the drift of time changed the arrangement of the heavens. Still, the Milky Way stretched overhead, the eternal river of stars flowing from horizon to horizon. Close your eyes and picture yourself lying on the warm ground of Pangea, looking up at that ancient night sky. The air is still, filled with the quiet rustling of insects and the occasional distant call of an animal. The stars shine brighter than any modern human could see, untouched by the glow of cities. Time seems endless, stretching in both directions, past and future. And in this moment, there is only peace. The earth itself was alive in ways we cannot see but can imagine. Deep beneath the crust, molten rock shifted and swirled, driving the slow drift of continents. Mountains rose as plates collided, only to erode again into the sea. Volcanoes erupted in fire and ash, reshaping the land and enriching the soil with minerals. Earthquakes rippled silently through the interior, reminders of the restless power beneath. These forces worked over spans of time so long that no creature could comprehend them, yet they shaped the fate of every living thing. Pangea was not just a land of deserts and forests, it was also a land of mountains, where continents had collided. Vast ranges rose high into the sky. Snow capped their peaks, even while deserts burned below. Rivers born in these mountains carved valleys and canyons, feeding the plains and coasts with water. Life flourished along these waterways, gathering in abundance wherever water flowed. As millions of years passed, life on Pangea continued to change. Evolution, slow and steady, worked its way through countless generations. Small reptiles gave rise to larger, more specialized forms. Some became swift runners, chasing prey across open ground. Others became heavy and armored, their their bodies shielded against attack. Insects diversified, some developing wings that allowed them to soar above the forests. Amphibians retreated more and more into wet places, giving way to reptiles that dominated. The dry land dot in the oceans, too. Life was transforming. Coral reefs became larger, fish grew more varied, and early sharks patrolled the seas. Marine reptiles, with their powerful flippers, claimed the waters as their hunting grounds. The deep ocean, though dark and mysterious, teemed with unseen creatures adapted to its silent depths. Everywhere, life filled every niche it could find. Through it all, the climate of Pangea shifted slowly. Ice ages came and went, cooling the land and reshaping ecosystems. Periods of warmth followed, when forests spread farther and deserts shrank. These changes unfolded over tens of thousands of years, too gradual for any single creature to notice, yet profound in their impact. Entire species rose and fell in response, adapting or vanishing as the world changed around them. And still, the continents moved, though invisible to the eyes of the creatures that lived then. The plates beneath Pangea were always in motion. Cracks deep below the surface slowly widened. Magma pressed upward, straining against the crust. Over millions of years, these forces would begin to pull Pangea apart. But in this moment, in the stillness of our journey, the land remains whole, a single supercontinent under the stars. Dot as you breathe slowly, drifting deeper into calm. Imagine standing once more on the shores of Pangea. The waves lap gently. At your feet, their rhythm steady and endless. Behind you stretches the vastness of Pangea, deserts, forests, mountains, and rivers, all part of one land. Before you lies the infinite ocean, its horizon unbroken. The sound of the water soothes your mind, carrying you deeper into rest. The air is warm, the night is quiet, and the world is at peace. Time itself seems to dissolve. Millions of years pass like the ticking of a clock. Forests grow and vanish, deserts expand and contract, mountains rise and crumble. Species evolve, thrive, and disappear, while new ones take their place. The earth is always changing, yet always steady in its rhythms. The same stars wheel slowly overhead, their light crossing ages to reach your eyes. In this endless flow, there is comfort, the knowledge that we are part of a vast and eternal story. Asterisk, as the ages unfolded, the supercontinent of Pangea breathed, with rhythms far older than any creature that walked its surface. Seasons swept across its immense landscapes, carrying warmth, rain, drought, and cold from one horizon to another. In the northern regions, winters grew long and harsh, where snow blanketed forests of conifers, and the breath of creatures rose like smoke in the frozen air. Yet, in the equatorial belts, heat lingered all year, pressing down on deserts where the sun never seemed to relent. Between these extremes, countless environments wove themselves together like threads in a vast tapestry. There were wetlands that gleamed in the sunlight, their shallow waters home to amphibians and fish. There were savannae like plains, where reptiles grazed slowly, their shadows stretching far across the open ground. There were mountains where clouds gathered, releasing rains that carved valleys and filled rivers, sending lifeblood into the plains below. That the creatures of Pangea, though ancient to our eyes, moved with the same grace and purpose of animals today. Picture, for a moment, a herd of early plant-eating reptiles. Their bodies are squat and sturdy, their jaws lined with teeth, designed for grinding through the fibrous fronds of seed ferns. They travel together, each step steady, leaving faint trails across the soft earth. Young ones walk at the center of the group, sheltered from predators by the larger adults. Around them, the air carries the soft sounds of rustling plants, insects, humming, and distant calls echoing across the plain. Asterisk, not far away, a predator moves with silent precision. It is lean and muscular, its limbs strong, its eyes fixed on the herd. Patiently, it waits for an opportunity, perhaps a young or a weak one, to fall behind. This quiet drama of survival has played out countless times before, and will play out countless times again, for it is the rhythm of life itself. Yet in this moment, beneath the broad skies of Pangea, it unfolds with a stillness that carries no violence, only balance. In the wetlands, life took different forms. Amphibians basked at the edges of pools, their smooth skin glistening in the sun. Some were small, barely longer than a human hand, their bodies light and agile. Others were massive, stretching longer than a grown person, their powerful tails pushing them through the water with ease. Fish flickered just beneath the surface, scattering when shadows passed overhead. Dragonflies with wings as wide as a bird's glided gracefully, their flight steady and unhurried. The air was thick and warm, filled with the sound of buzzing wings and the gentle ripple of water. The plants themselves told the story of an earth still in transition. Seed ferns spread their fronds wide, catching sunlight as they had for millions of years. Conifers reached tall into the skies, their trunks thick and resinous, their needles sharp and evergreen. In swampy soils, horsetails and cycads rose like pillars, forming groves that swayed softly with the wind. There were no flowers, no colorful blossoms to attract pollinators, for such plants had not yet appeared. Instead, reproduction relied on the patient release of spores and seeds, carried by wind and water into the waiting earth. As night descended once more, the landscape transformed under the stars. The deserts, which by day were harsh and scorching, now cooled beneath clear skies. The sands glowed faintly in the moonlight, stretching endlessly toward the horizon. Tiny creatures emerged from burrows, their bodies adapted to the chill. They scurried across the dunes, leaving delicate trails that would vanish with the morning wind. In the forests, nocturnal reptiles stirred, their eyes glinting in the dark, their movements measured and cautious. Amphibians raised their voices, in chorus, calling to one another across still waters above. The constellations burned brilliantly. The stars we recognize today were already present, though their positions had shifted slightly across the ages. Orion's familiar belt, the curve of the Big Dipper, the arc of Cassiopeia, all of them shone, yet tilted in ways that would look unfamiliar to us now. The Milky Way stretched across the heavens, a shimmering band of light that seemed to flow like a river. For the creatures of Pangea, this was the ceiling of their world, eternal and steady. The earth itself shaped the destiny of all life. Volcanic eruptions burst from the crust, sending ash high into the skies. Sometimes these eruptions darkened the world for weeks or months, cooling the land beneath shadowed skies. Yet the very same forces also created fertile soils, rich with minerals, allowing plants to grow more abundantly. Earthquakes shook mountains and valleys, sudden reminders of the restless power beneath the surface. The continents drifted almost imperceptibly, though over millions of years, this drift would transform the face of the earth forever. Rivers carried stories too, flowing from mountains into plains. They fed wetlands, nourished forests, and carved canyons with patient persistence. Along their banks, life gathered. Herds came to drink, predators lingered nearby, plants grew dense and green. The sound of water moving steadily over rocks, the scent of damp soil, the shimmer of fish breaking the surface, all of these elements gave rhythm to the lives that depended upon them. If you listen closely, you can almost hear the heartbeat of Pangea in these waters, a deep, steady pulse that carried life from one place to another, weaving connections between deserts, mountains, forests, and seas. This flow was constant, unbroken by human hands, untouched by machines or cities. It was the sound of a world, breathing, timeless and serene, in the far reaches of Pangea's southern lands. The climate cooled, and glaciers sometimes formed, spreading slowly across the terrain. These massive rivers of ice carved deep grooves into the land, grinding mountains into valleys and carrying rocks across vast distances. The contrast was striking. While equatorial deserts sweltered under unending sun, the southern reaches lay beneath sheets of ice. This vast range of climates, from frozen wastes to scorching sands, was united by the single body of land that was Pangea. As ages passed, new creatures began to emerge, carrying traits that would shape the future of life on Earth. Some reptiles grew larger, their bodies becoming massive and imposing. Others developed lighter builds, learning to run swiftly across open ground. In the oceans, marine reptiles stretched longer and sleeker, their limbs evolving into flippers that cut through the water with ease. The stage was quietly being set for the arrival of dinosaurs, though in this moment, the world remained in balance. Calm and ancient. Life moved in cycles, always returning, always renewing. The sun rose each morning, spreading warmth across the land, waking the forests and deserts alike. Shadows stretched and then shrank as the day passed, until evening painted the skies with colors that no eye recorded, yet were no less real. Night followed, stars reappearing in their endless dance, and through it all, The creatures of Pangea lived their lives, eating, moving, resting, and adapting, as all living beings do. Close your eyes and imagine yourself sitting once more at the edge of a Pangean forest. The trees rise high above you, their trunks dark and textured, their branches whispering in the wind. The ground beneath is soft with fallen needles and fronds. Insects move quietly among the roots, and a distant call echoes through the night. The air is warm, filled with the sense of resin and earth. In the distance, the ocean's breath rises and falls, steady and eternal. Here, in the stillness, you are part of the ancient world. Time loses its urgency, and the steady rhythms of earth carry you deeper into peace. Every sound, every movement is gentle. The world is vast, but it is also calm. You breathe slowly, evenly, as if you were breathing in time with the planet itself. And in this harmony, there is rest. As the slow march of time carried on, the world of Pangea unfolded like a vast and endless dream. Millions of years slipped quietly past, though to the Earth itself, such spans were but moments. The supercontinent stretched across much of the globe, and its heartlands lay far from the sea, so far that the tides and breezes of the ocean could not easily reach them. In these interior lands, the climate was dry, arid, and extreme. Rain fell rarely, and when storms did come, they came with sudden force, drenching the thirsty ground before vanishing once again into silence. In these inland deserts, the sands glowed under the unrelenting sun, shifting in slow waves as the wind carried grains across dunes. Sparse plants clung to life where they could, their roots searching deep for hidden moisture. The silence of the desert was profound, broken only by the soft hiss of wind or the call of some wandering creature. By day, the heat pressed down upon everything, shimmering in the air. By night, the land cooled quickly, releasing the stored warmth of the sun and allowing the stars to blaze brilliantly in the sky. Creatures adapted to these deserts in ways that seem extraordinary to us now, though to them it was simply life. Some reptiles rested in burrows during the hottest hours, emerging only when the light softened. Others carried water within themselves, conserving every drop. Their movements were unhurried, conserving energy, conserving strength, blending into the stillness of the land. Far from these arid plains, other parts of Pangea held entirely different worlds. Along the coasts, the oceans kissed the land with tides and waves, a rhythm eternal and soothing. The seas were alive with creatures that swam gracefully through the waters. Ancient sharks moved with quiet confidence, their fins cutting clean lines as they glided. Marine reptiles, large and powerful, rose to the surface to breathe before diving once more into the deep. Schools of fish shimmered together in silvery motion, moving as one body, shifting direction like whispers of wind. Above, the waves, the skies, were home to early flyers, reptilian forms with wings stretched wide, carried by warm currents of air. They circled patiently, scanning the waters below, before folding their wings and diving with precision. The surface rippled, then stilled, leaving only rings that widened outward into the sea. Along the coastlines, tidal pools shimmered beneath the sun, holding miniature worlds within them. Crustaceans scuttled across the rocks, their shells gleaming wet. Small fish darted among the shadows, while plants swayed gently with the movement of the water. The air carried the scent of salt and the sound of waves, constant and soothing, never hurried, never rushed. The forests of Pangea stretched wide across the land, thick with conifers, cycads, and ferns. In some regions, these forests grew dense, their canopy filtering sunlight into a green glow below. The ground was soft with layers of needles and fallen fronds, muffling the steps of creatures that passed through. Insects filled the air with soft hums, and reptiles moved quietly in search of food or shelter. The forests were places of shade and stillness, where time seemed to slow, and the air was rich with the sense of resin and soil. Among these trees, rivers wound their way patiently, cutting through the land in curves and bends. Their waters shimmered as they moved, reflecting sunlight in dazzling flashes. At the edges of these rivers, plants grew tall and thick, their roots drinking deeply from the nourishing flow. Amphibians lingered in these waters, calling to one another with low, resonant voices that echoed softly across the banks. Birds, as we know them, had not yet come into existence, and so the skies were quieter than they are today, filled instead with the occasional calls of reptiles or the buzz of ancient insects. In the higher reaches of the land, mountains rose, Their peaks weathered but steady, their presence a reminder of the forces that had shaped Pangea. Winds gathered around these peaks, carrying cool air into the valleys below. Snow sometimes crowned the tallest heights, gleaming under the sun and feeding rivers as it melted. The mountains stood as guardians of time, watching over the forests, plains, and deserts that stretched outward from their feet. The earth beneath Pangea was never still. Deep below, molten rock shifted, pushing against the crust. Faults groaned and released their tension in quakes, and volcanoes rose as molten fire pressed upward. When they erupted, they painted the skies with ash and fire, a spectacle of power that awed and unsettled the creatures who witnessed it. Yet these eruptions also renewed the earth, spreading minerals that enriched the soils, giving rise to lush growth in the seasons that followed. All of these movements, the shifting sands, the flowing rivers, the rising mountains, and the restless volcanoes were part of a grand cycle, unending and eternal. The earth shaped life, and life in turn adapted to the earth, each influencing the other in ways subtle and profound. As night fell across Pangea once more, the world softened under the silver light of the moon. The deserts cooled, the forests grew still, and the seas darkened to an endless expanse of calm. Stars filled the heavens, their light traveling across millions of years to meet the eyes of creatures who had no names for them, yet who lived beneath their glow. Imagine, in this moment, lying upon the ground of that ancient world. The soil is warm beneath you, the air carries the faint scent of plants and earth, and above you the Milky Way stretches in dazzling silence. No sound of machines, no echo of voices, only the steady rhythm of earth itself. Each star above shines, as it has for countless ages, and in their light, the world of Pangea rests in deep tranquility. Breathe slowly with this world. Feel the calm of its vastness, the balance of its cycles, the quiet harmony of its creatures. The earth, in its immensity, asks for nothing but your stillness. And as the continents drifted, as the ages moved onward, that stillness remained, infinite and eternal. Asterisk in the timeless silence of Pangea, where the supercontinent stretched endlessly across the globe, the story of Earth unfolded with patience. The land itself seemed to breathe, expanding and shifting over ages too vast to fully comprehend. The soil remembered every footstep, every rainfall, every whisper of wind, and every eruption of fire from beneath. When the dawn came to this ancient world, it painted the skies with colors familiar to us even today. Hues of soft gold spread across the horizon, joined by gentle shades of pink and pale orange. The sun rose slowly, casting its warmth across deserts, forests, and seas, each place greeting the day in its own way. In the dry heart of Pangea, the deserts awoke beneath the sun. The sands glowed, casting long shadows as the first light touched the dunes. Small creatures stirred within burrows, blinking into the brightness before venturing out. Some left tiny tracks across the shifting surface, reminders of their quiet existence in a vast and open land. Sparse plants stretched toward the light, their narrow leaves capturing energy for the long day ahead. In the stillness of this dry land, survival was a delicate balance, yet life endured, patient and resilient. Further outward, the forests greeted the morning with a different rhythm. Light filtered gently through tall conifers, striking the forest floor in scattered beams. The air held a faint mist, carrying the scent of damp earth and resin. Small reptiles moved through the undergrowth with soft rustles, while insects began their quiet chorus, filling the air with delicate hums. Along riverbanks, amphibians slipped from cool waters to bask in the first warmth of the day, their still forms reflecting a world that rarely hurried. At the edges of Pangea, the seas shimmered under the rising sun. Waves rolled gently, catching the light in endless patterns. Ancient marine reptiles lifted their heads above the water to breathe, their movements calm and measured. Fish swam in synchronized motion, glittering silver as they caught the light. Above, winged reptiles glided, slowly, their broad wings supported by warm currents of air. Their cries echoed faintly, carried across the sea breeze. Tidal pools reflected the sky like mirrors, their quiet surfaces rippled only by the scuttling of small creatures. Crabs explored with careful steps, shells gleaming wet, while algae swayed. With the water's rhythm, these miniature worlds captured the vastness of the ocean within tiny frames, their patterns repeating endlessly with the tide. As the day lengthened, Pangea basked in the warmth of the sun. The vast interior lands grew, hot and dry, the air shimmering with heat, while the coasts and rivers remained cooler, filled with the sound of water in motion. Life moved slowly through these hours. Some creatures rested in the shade, others basked openly in the light, and still others drifted through the waters in graceful silence. Mountains stood watch over this ancient world, their peaks casting long shadows that shifted as the sun moved across the sky. In the higher reaches, cool breezes whispered through rocky passes, carrying with them the scent of stone and snow. Small streams trickled downward, joining into rivers that wound their way through forests and plains. The mountains were steady, unyielding, a reminder of the strength that lay deep within the earth. Beneath Pangea, forces moved ceaselessly. Tectonic plates pressed together, grinding slowly with immense pressure. Volcanoes rose as molten rock pushed upward, reshaping the land in bursts of fire and ash. When they erupted, the skies darkened briefly, and the air filled with drifting particles that settled slowly back to the ground. Yet these eruptions also enriched the land, scattering minerals that would nourish future growth. In the balance of destruction and renewal, Earth found its rhythm. As the sun began to descend, the light softened once more. The deserts cooled, their sands releasing heat into the evening air. The forests grew hushed, their shadows deepening as the day's chorus of insects faded into the quieter sounds of night. Along the rivers, the water reflected the sky's changing hues, flowing onward without haste. The seas glowed with the fading light, their waves gentle, their creatures settling into the calm of dusk. When night returned to Pangea, it did so with tranquility. Stars revealed themselves slowly, one by one, until the sky was filled with a dazzling canopy. The moon rose, casting silver light across land and water. In the deserts, the air grew cool and clear. In the forests, shadows stretched long, and in the seas, the surface shimmered faintly beneath the starlight. Life moved quietly in these hours, some creatures resting, others stirring, all of them bound by the cycles of day and night. Imagine standing on the shores of Pangea beneath this ancient night sky. The air carries the scent of salt and the rhythm of waves. The land behind you stretches endlessly, forests and deserts, mountains and rivers, all resting beneath the watch of stars. Above, the Milky Way stretches in sweeping arcs, glowing softly, eternal and vast. You feel the ground beneath your feet, steady and warm, and the timeless presence of the earth surrounds you. The night deepens, and the world grows still. In this stillness, the heart of Pangea beats softly, in harmony with the turning of the earth, the drift of the continents, and the endless quiet of the universe beyond. As the night stretched onward across the vast expanse of Pangea, silence deepened, yet within that silence, the world remained alive with subtle rhythms. Along the coastlines, the tides continued their ancient cycle, flowing in and out with steady grace. The waves rolled gently, whispering against the rocks and sands, carrying with them the breath of the sea. Phosphorescent organisms shimmered faintly in the water, casting a soft glow that mirrored the stars above. Their light pulsed in slow patterns, creating a bridge between ocean and sky. In the deserts, the coolness of night blanketed the land. Winds traced delicate patterns across the dunes, reshaping them grain by grain. Small nocturnal creatures ventured forth, their movements nearly soundless as they searched for food. Their eyes reflected the faint glow of the moon, gleaming like tiny beacons in the dark. Some creatures dug gently into the sand to rest again, leaving only the faintest trace of their passage, erased by the wind within hours. The forests of Pangea became sanctuaries of shadow. Branches swayed softly in the night breeze, their movements like whispers in the darkness. Insects called faintly, their delicate tones blending into a soft chorus. Amphibians added their voices at the edges of rivers and swamps, their calls resonating low and steady. The air felt heavy with stillness, yet also alive with sound, too gentle to disturb the calm. Beneath the canopy, tiny lights flickered as bioluminescent fungi glowed faintly, guiding unseen paths across the forest floor. High above, winged reptiles glided through the night air. They moved silently, their wide wings catching the faint currents that drifted between sea and land. When they passed across the face of the moon, their silhouettes traced fleeting shapes in the sky before vanishing back into the dark. Along the coasts, they settled onto cliffs and rocky ledges, their wings folding around them like cloaks as they rested until morning. The mountains stood in quiet majesty, their peaks crowned with silver light. Streams ran cold and clear in their valleys, their waters murmuring softly as they descended toward the plains. In caves hidden within the slopes, creatures rested in safety, their breath rising slowly, their bodies warmed by the embrace of the rock around them. The mountains, ancient and still, bore witness to the vast cycles of day and night, season and age, always present, always enduring. Beneath the earth, rivers of molten rock continued their hidden flow. The tectonic forces beneath Pangea never slept, shifting slowly with purpose. Their movements shaped the land above, lifting mountains, opening rifts, and fueling volcanoes. At times, faint tremors rolled across the ground, reminders of the great forces working invisibly below. Yet even these movements followed the rhythm of the earth, a cycle without haste, unfolding with patience across millions of years. As the night grew deepest, the stars seemed to shine more brightly, their light clearer in the absence of any other glow. The Milky Way arched across the sky, a river of light flowing endlessly overhead. Its countless stars reminded all who looked upward of the universe's vastness, a reminder that Pangea, as immense as it was, belonged to a greater cosmic story. The night air carried stillness, and the land, sea, and sky seemed united in a single moment of peace. Eventually, the faintest hint of dawn touched the horizon once more. At first, it was no more than a subtle lightening of the sky, a shift from deep indigo to soft gray. Then, slowly, the colors returned, pale pinks and golds, spreading gently across the edge of the world. The stars faded one by one, and the moon lowered toward the horizon, surrendering the sky to the coming day. Life stirred again. In the deserts, small creatures retreated into burrows as the first warmth returned. Birds of ancient lineage lifted their voices, calling softly to one another. In the new light, in the forests, reptiles stretched themselves across warm stones, soaking in the energy of morning. The rivers reflected the sky's glow, carrying it across their moving surfaces. Along the seas, waves gleamed as they rolled toward the shore, their sound steady and calming. Day returned to Pangea, and the world once more found its rhythm between stillness and motion, light and shadow. The cycles continued, steady and timeless, as life endured beneath the vast sky. As the days turned, in 2 weeks across the ancient landscape of Pangea, the rhythms of life unfolded with steady grace. The great landmass stretched endlessly, its coastlines meeting vast oceans, its heartlands filled with plains, deserts, forests, and mountains that rose like eternal guardians of the earth. Life here was not rushed but patient, carried by the slow turning of time and the endless cycles of nature. Forests spread across wide regions, their canopies forming seas of green that whispered softly in the wind. The leaves shifted in gentle waves, each motion blending with the next, creating a lullaby of rustling sound. Beneath the trees, ferns reached outward in wide arcs, their fronds capturing the morning light as it filtered through the canopy. Insects traced lazy patterns through the air, their wings shimmering faintly before vanishing back into the shade. Reptiles moved with quiet purpose along the forest floor, pausing often to rest upon warm stones, their bodies absorbing the energy of the sun. Across the great plains, herds of ancient creatures grazed peacefully. Their movements stirred the grass in slow ripples, as though the land itself were breathing. These herds traveled steadily, always seeking fresh growth, their migration marking the passage of seasons. Small creatures followed in their wake, feeding on what was left behind. Birds, their wings spread wide, glided above, circling in patient spirals before finding places to rest. Their calls drifted through the air, blending with the sound of wind across the land. The deserts of Pangea stretched outward, seas of sand that glowed beneath the sun by day and cooled beneath the stars by night. Shifting dunes rolled like waves across the horizon, their shapes ever-changing yet eternal in presence. Small creatures adapted to the heat, burrowing deep into the sand during the day and emerging at night to feed in silence. The desert winds carried fine grains across the surface, smoothing the contours of the dunes with patient persistence. Along the coasts, the oceans moved with ceaseless rhythm. The waves rose and fell, their sound a steady heartbeat echoing through the air. Tides flowed inward and outward, shaping the shorelines, pulling fragments of shells and stones into new arrangements each day. The waters teemed with life creatures, that swam in schools of silver, their bodies flashing as they moved together like a single mind. Larger beings glided silently through the depths, their shadows vast beneath the surface. Their presence felt even when unseen. Mountains rose across the land, their slopes carved by streams that traced glistening paths downward into valleys. Snow crowned their highest peaks, while forests blanketed their lower slopes. The air grew thin and crisp in these heights, carrying silence that seemed eternal. From time to time, the mountains rumbled faintly, a quiet reminder of the forces beneath the earth. Lava flowed in hidden chambers, pressing outward with patience, shaping the world slowly but inevitably. The skies above were immense, stretching without end. Clouds drifted lazily, painting shifting forms against the blue expanse. Sometimes storms gathered, their presence heavy, their voices rolling in deep rumbles across the land. Rain fell in gentle sheets, feeding rivers and forests, soaking the plains, and bringing new life to even the driest places. After the rain, the air felt fresh, as though the earth itself had breathed deeply and renewed its strength. Night returned in cycles, draping the land in stillness. The stars revealed themselves again, their countless lights spread across the heavens in patterns that had no beginning and no end. Creatures of the night stirred gently, moving softly in the shadows. Bioluminescent organisms glowed faintly along riverbanks and forest floors, marking invisible trails with a light that seemed alive. The air cooled, the winds calmed, and the land settled once more into silence. Through it all, Pangea endured. Its vastness held within it every rhythm of nature life, and stillness, light and shadow, growth and rest, each day carried into the next with calm continuity. A seamless flow of existence, stretching endlessly forward. The world of Pangea stretched onward, a land of endless horizons where every detail of existence unfolded in patient rhythm. In the soft light of dawn, the first rays of the sun touched the wide plains, painting them in pale gold. Shadows stretched long across the grasses, where dew shimmered like thousands of tiny stars caught on the blades. Each droplet reflected the morning light for only a moment before vanishing into the warmth of the day. Like fleeting dreams dissolving at the edge of waking, the rivers carried the quiet song of moving water, winding their way through valleys carved over countless centuries. Their surfaces reflected the sky above, capturing drifting clouds and the flight of birds that glided effortlessly overhead. Along their banks, plants reached toward the water, their roots sinking deep into the soil to draw sustenance from the earth's hidden reserves. Small creatures paused to drink, their movements cautious yet unhurried, as though time itself flowed more gently here. Far to the south, in lands where warmth lingered throughout the year, forests flourished in green abundance. Towering conifers stretched upward, their trunks thick with age, their crowns swaying gently in the wind. Ferns spread wide beneath them, carpeting the ground in delicate layers of green. The air carried the fragrance of damp earth, mingling with the faint resin of trees. Insects buzzed softly in the distance, a steady hum that blended into the greater silence of the forest. In these woods, great reptiles moved slowly, their forms massive yet graceful in their deliberate pace. Each step pressed into the soft soil, leaving impressions that would soon fade beneath falling leaves. Their long necks reached upward to strip foliage from high branches, while their tails swept behind them, brushing aside ferns and shrubs. Despite their size, they carried themselves with calm purpose, their lives tied to the steady cycles of growth and rest. Across open landscapes, the winds whispered gently through grasses that swayed in broad waves. These winds carried seeds, far across the plains, scattering new beginnings into distant soil. Where the seeds landed, new growth emerged, linking one season to the next, one generation to another. Above, the sky was boundless, its vast expanse broken only by drifting clouds or the slow arc of the sun. Birds rose into this space, their wings cutting smoothly through the air, each glide a perfect balance of strength and stillness. As twilight approached, the world of Pangea softened, colors deepened into gentle hues of amber and rose. The air cooled slowly, carrying with it the scent of earth, water, and foliage. Animals found places to rest, curling into hollows, burrows, or the shade of trees. The calls of daytime creatures faded, replaced by the soft stirrings of the night. From caves and crevices, nocturnal beings emerged, moving lightly beneath the rising moon. The night was never empty, but filled with a quiet life that revealed itself only when darkness fell. Tiny eyes glimmered in the shadows, reflecting starlight. Small wings beat softly, moving through the night air without sound. The forests glowed faintly in places where bioluminescent fungi cast a gentle light upon the ground, as though the earth itself breathed with a hidden radiance. The stars above seemed endless, scattered across the heavens in patterns beyond measure. Slowly, patiently, the constellations turned, marking time not in hours but in millennia. Deep within the land, unseen forces shaped the world with quiet persistence. Beneath the mountains, molten rock shifted and pressed, giving rise to tremors that whispered of the earth's immense power. Volcanoes slept in silence for countless years, then stirred suddenly, releasing rivers of fire that reshaped the land. Yet even this was part of the patient rhythm of Pangea, where creation and renewal flowed endlessly together. Oceans stretched far beyond the coastlines, vast and unknowable. Waves rose and fell in perpetual motion, their sound steady and eternal. Beneath their surfaces, entire worlds thrived unseen. Schools of fish shimmered like flowing silver as they moved in unison. Larger beings glided through the depths, slow and powerful, carrying the weight of ages in their silent forms. Coral forests reached upward toward the light, sheltering countless smaller lives among their branches. In these waters, time seemed suspended, each movement as old as the sea itself. Storms passed across the oceans with deep patience. Winds rose in great spirals, and waves climbed high, yet eventually they calmed again, returning to stillness. Afterward, the air carried a freshness, as though cleansed by the storm's release. The cycle repeated endlessly, a reminder that all motion returns to balance in time. In the deserts, where sands stretched endlessly in golden waves, silence ruled with steady grace. The wind moved across the dunes, sculpting their forms with invisible hands. Each ridge, each hollow, was shaped and reshaped, never fixed yet always familiar. At night, the stars above the desert shone with unmatched brilliance, unbroken by cloud or forest. The constellations revealed themselves fully, their patterns vast, their presence eternal. To lie beneath that sky was to feel the immensity of both Earth and cosmos together. Generations of life rose and fell upon the surface of Pangea. Each creature lived its days in harmony with the land, its presence a brief note in the greater song of existence. Some grew vast, their bodies shaping the balance of their ecosystems. Others remained small, hidden among the leaves or stones, yet no less essential. Together they wove the intricate fabric of life, a web that extended from the smallest insect to the mightiest predator, from the depths of the oceans to the heights of the mountains. As centuries passed, rivers shifted their courses, carving new valleys, leaving old beds behind. Forests advanced and retreated, following the climate's subtle changes. Deserts expanded, then withdrew. The land was never still but always moving, even if that motion was hidden from immediate sight. Time worked upon Pangea as gently as water, smoothing stone, shaping its destiny through countless quiet moments. The sky itself seemed to reflect this calm eternity. Sunlight poured down in steady warmth, clouds drifted slowly, rain returned with gentle persistence. Night after night, the stars returned without fail, their light reaching across immeasurable distances to touch the earth. Moons rose in pale splendor, casting soft glow across the land and sea. The balance between light and shadow, day and night, movement and stillness, endured without end. Through it all, the earth remained patient. Pangea stood as one vast land, its unity echoing a time when continents had not yet drifted apart. Its mountains and valleys, forests and deserts, seas and skies, all flowed together in harmony. It was a world vast yet singular, a cradle of life, where every heartbeat, every breath, every step was woven into the same endless story. And in this story, time moved slowly, soothingly, stretching not in hours but in ages. To listen to it was to sink deeper into stillness, to let the imagination drift across forests and plains, deserts and seas, to rest among the stars above. The land of Pangea was not hurried, nor was it loud. It was calm, steady, and eternal, carrying its mysteries forward across the ages in silence and grace. The world of Pangea carried on with its timeless song, each moment flowing softly into the next, like the hush of wind through ancient trees. The land remained vast and unified, Yet within its immensity were countless small stories, whispered quietly across forests, rivers, and seas. Every creature, every shifting stone, every rolling wave was part of a great harmony, and that harmony stretched across the ages with steady patience, in the gentle warmth of a long afternoon. The plains seemed endless beneath the sky. Tall grasses swayed in broad, slow waves, moved by a breeze that wandered without hurry. Each blade bent and rose again, its rhythm so subtle that it felt almost like breathing. The horizon shimmered faintly in the sunlight, a distant mirage, where earth and sky appeared to meet. Large animals moved slowly across this vastness, their shadows lengthening in the descending light. They grazed in silence, pausing often to lift their heads and listen to the stillness around them. Nearby, a river wound its way through the landscape, carrying a calm and steady song. Its waters moved over smooth stones, whispering in tones too soft to disturb the air. Fish glided beneath its surface, their scales catching fragments of light as they moved together in shimmering currents. On the riverbanks, reeds swayed gently, offering shelter to smaller beings that darted quickly between shadow and sun. The river was a ribbon of life, binding together the land as it had for countless centuries, its path weaving endlessly onward. Farther inland, forests rose with quiet grandeur, their canopies reached high into the air, forming living cathedrals of green and shadow. Sunlight filtered through leaves and golden shafts, illuminating the ferns and mosses below. The forest floor was soft and cool, layered with fallen leaves, and the hidden roots of towering trees. Insects moved silently through this undergrowth, their wings catching the light as they shifted from one place to another. Occasionally, the call of a bird echoed softly, a distant note that lingered for a moment before blending back into the stillness. The deeper one went into these forests, the more the air seemed to carry a sense of timelessness. Great reptiles rested in the shade, their eyes half closed, their breathing slow and steady. Smaller creatures moved along the trunks of trees, their claws gripping bark as they climbed toward the canopy. The forest was not hurried, its rhythms unfolding in patience. Each leaf, each root, each sound woven into the quiet pulse of the earth. Beyond the forests, the mountains of Pangea stretched toward the heavens. Their peaks rose in solemn majesty, capped with snow that gleamed faintly in the light of the sun. Clouds drifted around their slopes, veiling them in shifting mists. Waterfalls tumbled from hidden heights, their streams carving new paths through stone as they had for ages beyond memory. The air here was thin and cool, carrying the scent of stone, pine, and the faint mineral temps of tumult. The mountains stood as reminders of the earth's slow, patient power, vast, unyielding, yet shaped gently over time. When night came, the mountains became silhouettes against the star-filled sky. The constellations stretched endlessly above them, brighter here than anywhere else, their light untouched by forest or plain. The stars did not rush. They turned with infinite calm, their movement measured in ages. Those who looked upon them felt the immensity of both earth and sky, a vastness that reached far beyond even the largest landmass. The deserts of Pangea, too, had their own stillness. During the day, the sun pressed heavily upon the sands, turning each dune into a glowing ridge of gold and amber. The air wavered with heat, and the silence seemed complete, broken only by the whisper of shifting grains. At night, the desert transformed, the heat faded, and the cold crept gently across the land. Stars filled the sky with unmatched brilliance, each point of light sharp and clear. The sands reflected their glow faintly, turning the desert into a place of quiet silver and shadow. In this stillness, the earth seemed to breathe slowly, its vast lungs expanding and contracting in silence. Across the coastlines, waves broke softly, repeating their eternal rhythm. The tides rolled in and withdrew again, guided by the steady pull of the moon. Each motion was as old as the seas themselves, unchanged for millennia. Upon the shores, shells lay scattered, their patterns delicate and intricate, shaped by the patient hand of time. The cries of distant seabirds drifted through the air, soft and unhurried, as they circled above the waters, beneath the ocean's surface. Life thrived in countless forms, hidden from the land above. Coral grew in sprawling shapes, its colors faint but glowing in the filtered light. Schools of fish moved as one, their silver scales flickering in unison as though they shared a single thought. Larger beings glided slowly through the depths, their movements graceful and serene. The ocean floor was layered with sand, rock, and forgotten remains of ages long past. Each fragment a piece of Earth's vast memory. As centuries turned, climates shifted with quiet persistence. Rains fell in new patterns, feeding rivers in some regions, while deserts expanded in others. Forests grew thick in one's barren lands, while elsewhere they retreated under the steady march of change. The creatures of Pangea moved with these rhythms, adapting slowly, never in haste, their lives guided by the Earth's own patient flow. And always, above all, the stars returned each night. They formed silent patterns in the sky, their light steady, their presence eternal. Generations of life rose and fell beneath their watchful glow, yet the stars endured, as though whispering that all things, no matter how vast or small, are part of the same infinite story. To drift into this story is to feel the gentleness of time itself, to let the imagination rest among forests and deserts, to walk quietly along rivers, to float weightlessly beneath the stars. In the land of Pangea, nothing was rushed, nothing was loud. It was a world of balance and calm, where every sound and every silence carried the promise of peace. And as the land remained whole, undivided, its great unity was a reminder that the earth itself moves with patience, and that its story continues far beyond the measure of days or years. It is a story without haste, carried on winds, in rivers, in the flight of birds, in the breath of oceans, and in the silence of the night sky. It is a story that cradles all who listen, inviting them to sink deeper into stillness, to rest within the rhythm of the earth's eternal song. The land of Pangea stretched on, unbroken, like a great canvas painted with the colors of Earth's imagination. Its rivers still carried their soft whispers, its forests their hushed songs, and its mountains their solemn silence. Each place, each moment, folded seamlessly into the next, as if time itself flowed in slow and patient currents. The earth was alive with gentle rhythms, each one steady and unhurried, each one a reminder that life was not meant to be rushed, but savored like the breath of wind or the fall of rain. On the western coasts of this great supercontinent, the sea met the land. In vast sweeps of rocky cliffs and quiet bays, the waves rolled endlessly, folding upon themselves with a softness that was eternal. Seabirds drifted above, their wings stretched wide, letting the currents carry them without effort. They glided silently, almost dreamlike, their shadows passing slowly over the sands below. When they called, it was not in sharpness but in long, echoing notes that melted into the sound of the tide. The ocean, vast and unmeasured, seemed to embrace the entire world in its endless arms. Beneath the waters, deeper than light could reach, life moved in a world of stillness and shadows. Gentle giants drifted slowly, their bodies rising and falling, with the ocean's breathing. Strange shapes of coral reached upward like ancient trees, their colors soft, muted by the dim blue glow that filtered from far above. Tiny beings shimmered in the darkness, their glow pulsing like stars scattered across the deep. Every movement, every flicker, every ripple of current was part of a great underwater silence, a silence so profound it felt eternal. As millennia passed, the surface of Pangea shifted with quiet inevitability. Winds carried fine dust across deserts, layering the land grain by grain. Rivers carved valleys deeper, their steady hands shaping stone with patience beyond measure. Mountains, though unmoving to the eyes of creatures, slowly lifted, pushed upward by the slow breath of the earth itself. Forests rose, fell, and rose again, each cycle flowing seamlessly into the next. Life adapted without hurry, guided by the steady rhythm of change. In the wide heart of the continent, great grasslands spread in golden waves. Herds moved across them in silence, their footsteps muffled by the softness of soil and grass. They followed ancient paths carved, not by roads but by instinct, passed down quietly from one generation to the next. The air was filled with the gentle hum of insects, a steady drone that rose and fell like the background music of life itself. The wind bent the grass in wide rolling arcs, each sweep like the slow turning of a page in Earth's endless story. Evening often brought with it a deep calm. The sky shifted from gold to rose, then from rose to purple, until, at last, the stars emerged once more. On those grasslands, under that sky, the stars seemed impossibly close, as though they were shining through the very air itself. Each one sparkled with patience, with serenity, whispering a reminder of the vastness that lay beyond the land. The creatures below paused often to lift their eyes to the heavens, as though listening for something only the stars could say. In the far southern reaches of Pangea, wetlands spread like a quiet labyrinth. Pools reflected the sky, their surfaces unbroken but for the soft ripple of wind or the slow movement of hidden creatures. Reeds swayed gently, forming narrow passages that opened into broad, still lakes. The air was heavy with moisture, carrying the faint scent of earth and water. Here, the world seemed hushed even further, as though wrapped in layers of silence, each deeper than the last. Birds stood motionless at the water's edge, their reflections sharp and still. Frogs called with low, steady voices, echoing softly across the pools. Everything seemed balanced in perfect calm, a place where time itself slowed to a near stop. And in the far north, the forests grew dense and dark, their branches heavy with mist. The air was cool, filled with the scent of moss and stone. Rivers moved sluggishly here, their surfaces veiled with fallen leaves. Larger creatures walked carefully through the undergrowth, their footsteps muffled by the damp soil. Overhead, the canopy blocked much of the sky, but when the moon did break through, it painted the forest in silver, turning the mist into glowing veils that drifted between the trees. Nights here were long, slow, and endless, filled only with the occasional whisper of wind. The great unity of Pangea was not just in its land, but in the way its rhythms carried on without interruption. The desert flowed into grassland, the grassland into forest, the forest into mountain, the mountain into shore, and the shore into sea. Each place blended into the next, never rushed, never abrupt, but moving always with the gentlest transitions. This was a world that knew no separation, only connection. A single continent, a single song. As ages continued their long passage, the stars remained the most faithful companions. They burned steadily in the night sky, unblinking their patterns, shifting slowly with the turn of the earth. For countless generations of life, the stars were guides, watchers, companions in the quiet hours. They whispered the same truth to all who looked upon them, that time was vast, that life was patient, and that every breath belonged to something infinite. To imagine drifting through this world is to imagine stepping into a dream of earth. Before memory, each moment unfolds gently, with no beginning and no end, only a continuous flow, like the rise and fall of breath. To lie beneath the stars of Pangea, to listen to its rivers, to walk its forests, to rest upon its shores, is to be held in the softest embrace of time. And as we journey through these images in thought, there is nothing sharp, nothing hurried, nothing to disturb the stillness. The land itself seems to cradle the mind, inviting it to drift further and further into quiet. Each word becomes softer, each image slower, until thought itself becomes a river flowing gently toward rest. The story of Pangea is the story of unity, the story of a world held together as one. It is the story of endless patience, of change so slow it is almost invisible, of silence that carries the weight of eternity. It is the story of Earth's deepest calm, a calm that surrounds all who listen. And in this calm, in this vastness, one may close their eyes and drift as though upon the ocean's tide, drift as though beneath the stars, drift as though time itself were carrying them gently forward. The world of Pangea waits quietly, timelessly, as a companion to the dreams of all who rest within its memory. And so, the story continues, quietly, endlessly, softly unfolding, until the last breath of thought gives way to sleep. As the endless night deepens across the supercontinent, the air grows cooler, carrying with it the breath of an ancient wind that has touched mountains, forests, and seas without ever leaving the embrace of Pangea. Imagine yourself standing on a quiet plateau, where the earth stretches far into the horizon, unbroken by oceans, unshaken by boundaries. The ground is steady beneath your feet, and the stars above form a tapestry that feels eternal. Time moves differently here, as though every second is drawn out, softened, and carried gently into the next. You begin to walk slowly, feeling the soft texture of the soil underfoot, the surface still warm from the memory of daylight. Around you, the land is alive in subtle ways. Leaves rustle in the gentlest of breezes, their surfaces catching glimmers of starlight. Somewhere in the distance, water trickles softly over smooth stones, its rhythm steady and soothing, as though it has sung the same song for millions of years. The sound blends with the heartbeat of the land, a lullaby whispered by Earth herself. The sky above holds constellations far more vivid than we know today. Without the scatter of modern lights, the heavens appear endless, spilling over with stars, glowing softly in patterns both familiar and strange. The Milky Way stretches like a silver river, flowing silently from one edge of the horizon to the other, reminding you that the universe too is ancient, older than any mountain, older than the ground you walk upon. You breathe deeply, and the cool air fills you with calmness, wrapping your body in comfort. With every step, the landscape changes gradually, yet seamlessly. The plateau leads to rolling valleys, where ancient conifers grow tall, their trunks wide and their roots woven deep into the earth. The ground is blanketed in ferns, their delicate fronds brushing against one another in the hush of night. Moonlight slips through the branches, casting gentle silver beams that fall like a veil across the forest floor. Every detail feels alive, yet hushed, a perfect balance between stillness and quiet motion. The path carries you further, and soon you hear the slow, rhythmic pulse of waves. You emerge from the trees onto a vast shoreline, where the ocean meets the land in a calm embrace. The waves are not fierce tonight. They rise and fall with a steady rhythm, like the breathing of Earth herself. The surface of the sea mirrors the sky, holding stars upon its gentle swells, so that it feels as though the heavens have doubled, one above, one below. You stand at the edge, the cool foam brushing against your feet, and you feel connected to both sky and sea in equal measure, far beyond the horizon. Unseen but felt, the tectonic plates shift slowly, imperceptibly. This landmass, this vast Pangea, rests upon the restless foundation of the planet. Though silent now, these movements will one day reshape everything, breaking apart continents, forming oceans, giving birth to mountains. But here, in this moment, none of that matters. For now, Pangea exists in wholeness, in unity, in timeless serenity. You lie down on the soft sand, the grains warm beneath you, holding the last touch of sunlight. Above, countless stars shimmer with gentle brilliance, each one a story, each one a reminder of the immensity of existence. The waves hush you, their rhythm like the soft cadence of a heartbeat, guiding you deeper into rest. As your eyes grow heavier, the earth whispers to you, not with words, but with a feeling, a calm assurance that you are part of this ancient cycle, part of a story that stretches back to the dawn of time. And as the night deepens, so too does your rest, carried by the gentle hand of Pangea's eternal dream. The night along the shoreline lingers, carrying the soft lull of the waves. Hours seem to stretch into timelessness, and the stars shift slowly above. As dawn begins its patient arrival, the horizon brightens with a tender glow, painting the edges of the ocean with pale shades of silver and blue. The transition is quiet, unhurried, as if the world itself respects the slowness of the morning dot. You rise gently, leaving behind the patterns the sand has traced around you, and walk once more along the edge of this ancient sea. The air has cooled, yet carries a freshness that awakens the senses softly, without force. Each breath is steady, measured, as though the rhythm of your lungs has aligned perfectly with the tides. The sound of the water, endlessly advancing and retreating, becomes a companion to your footsteps, grounding you in the calm of the moment. As the light grows, the shapes of the land begin to reveal themselves more clearly. Beyond the shoreline, cliffs rise in solemn majesty, their surfaces etched with lines that tell stories of pressure, of fire, of countless years folded into stone. At their base, caves open like hidden doorways, where shadows linger even as the sun stretches its golden fingers across the sky. Inside, the sound of dripping water echoes endlessly, a slow and patient song that has been playing since before human memory. You step closer, listening to the cavern's hum, and realize that even silence in this world is not empty but filled with presence, with subtle voices that speak without words. Beyond the cliffs lies a plain, stretching wide under the pale morning light. Ferns cover the ground in soft carpets of green, glistening with dew. The world is quiet here, interrupted only by the distant call of ancient creatures greeting the dawn. They move unseen, but you sense them, a rustle in the distance, the faint stir of air, a shadow slipping through the trees. Their existence is not threatening, only part of the vast cycle, just as you are. The land, the plants, the animals, the water, the sky all belong to one another, all moving together in harmony. The sun finally rises above the edge of the world, and warmth returns to the air. Its light spreads slowly, spilling across the plains and forests, bringing gentle brilliance to every leaf, every ripple, every stone. You walk further inland now, following the natural paths shaped by streams that wind lazily across the land. The water is clear, reflecting both sky and earth in equal beauty. Small ripples drift outward from pebbles resting beneath the surface, their patterns delicate and endless, a reminder that even the simplest movements create echoes. You pause by one of these streams, kneeling beside its edge. As you dip your hand into the water, its coolness flows through you, grounding your thoughts. The sensation is calming, steadying, like being embraced by something both ancient and eternal. You drink slowly, savoring the clarity, and feel as though the water carries with it the memory of rain that fell countless ages ago, the breath of storms that swept across Pangea long before your arrival. The path continues, leading you into a grove where towering conifers stand like guardians of time. Their branches weave together high above, forming a green cathedral that filters sunlight into soft beams. Dust and pollen drift lazily in the light, sparkling as they fall, as if the air itself is filled with tiny fragments of stars. The ground beneath is layered with needles and soft earth, muffling your steps into silence. The scent of resin and earth is gentle, grounding you deeper into the stillness of this place. You sit beneath one of these ancient trees, leaning against its trunk. Its bark is rough yet steady, its presence reassuring. Closing your eyes, you let yourself feel the weight of its age, the patience with which it has stood against wind and time. The tree has known storms, seasons, droughts, floods, and yet here it stands, unwavering, as though offering its quiet strength to anyone willing to listen. You remain there for what feels like a long while, though time no longer seems to matter. Each moment folds softly into the next, unbroken, seamless, like the flow of the river, like the drift of clouds across the wide Pangean sky. The mind slows, the body softens, and even thoughts seem to dissolve into the gentle embrace of the world around you. When you rise again, the grove opens into a meadow. The air is warmer now, carrying the scents of wildflowers that sway gently in the breeze. Their colors are muted but soothing, soft yellows, pale purples, faint white soul blending into a calm tapestry that stretches as far as the eye can see. Insects hum quietly, moving from bloom to bloom, their movements unhurried, their purpose part of the endless cycle of renewal. The meadow leads to hills, rolling softly like waves frozen in time. You climb slowly, step by step, each movement grounding you more deeply in this ancient world. At the crest of the hill, you pause, looking back at the vast expanse behind you, the shoreline now distant, the cliffs rising like silent sentinels, the forests stretching endlessly, and the rivers weaving their paths like silver threads. It feels as though you are standing at the center of everything, held gently within the embrace of a world that is whole and united. Above, the sky remains clear, a soft blue canvas that seems to stretch forever. The sun warms your face, steady and unchanging, and in that warmth you feel a sense of belonging, a calm certainty that you are not separate from this place but part of it. The world breathes with you, the land rests with you, and the sky shelters you. And in this connection, you feel yourself sinking once more into a deeper state of peace, as though each step forward is not a journey through distance but a journey inward, toward rest, toward stillness, toward dream. You continue walking across the rolling hills, each rise and fall guiding you gently deeper into the vast embrace of this ancient world. The grass beneath your feet is soft and springy, damp still with the last of the morning dew. With every step droplets scatter and glisten in the sunlight, like tiny jewels dissolving back into the air. The breeze that sweeps across the hills is tender, carrying with it the faint aroma of earth and distant blossoms, weaving together the sense of a world unspoiled. As you crest another hill, the view ahead widens again, revealing something new. A valley lies below, its floor crossed by winding rivers that braid and unbraid themselves like threads of silver. Pools shimmer between them, reflecting the sky above so clearly that they seem like fragments of the heavens resting gently on the ground. You stand there quietly, breathing in the scene, your thoughts slowing further into stillness. Time does not press here. The world moves with the calm rhythm of its own cycles, and you are carried along effortlessly, like a leaf floating downstream. Descending into the valley, you follow one of the rivers. Its voice is quiet, a soft murmur that rises and falls as the water slips over stones. Birds call faintly from the trees nearby, their songs gentle, blending seamlessly with the sound of flowing water. Their tones are low and melodic, not sharp or startling, as though even the creatures of this land understand the importance of harmony. You pause often, kneeling to watch the patterns of light and shadow as they ripple across the river's surface. Every reflection seems alive, shifting, and yet always peaceful, always steady. Eventually, the river leads you to a wide lake at the heart of the valley. Its surface is so smooth it looks like a vast mirror, capturing the clouds drifting above and the trees lining its edge. You approach slowly, and as you stand at the shoreline, the reflection of the sky blurs slightly where your presence touches the water. You kneel, dipping your fingers once more into its cool surface, and feel the calmness of this body of water radiating into you, steady and grounding. The lake is vast, but it does not overwhelm. Instead, it embraces, offering a sense of wholeness, as if you too are part of the reflection, part of the sky, part of the earth. Sitting by the lake, you allow yourself to rest. The ground is soft beneath you, the air warm but not heavy, and the sounds of nature weave into a quiet lullaby. The steady lapping of water against the shore, the faint rustle of leaves, the gentle buzz of insects, all of it becomes a single song of stillness. As your body relaxes, your mind wanders gently, imagining the life that may have flourished here long before you arrived. Perhaps enormous dragonflies skimmed across this same water, their wings shimmering like glass in the light. Perhaps creatures, now forgotten, wandered down to drink, their shapes strange but beautiful, part of the great fabric of Pangea. The thought does not stir fear, only wonder. These creatures, long gone, are not ghosts but whispers of memory, woven into the land, into the water, into the air you breathe. Their presence remains in the soil, in the trees, in the very rhythm of the earth. You lean back, lying flat on the grass by the water's edge, and look upward into the sky. The clouds drift slowly, painting the blue with soft strokes of white. The sun warms your skin, and the ground supports you completely, holding you without condition, without demand. As you lie there, the sound of the world continues, but softer now, as though it too is slowing into a dream. The rhythm of your breath deepens, unhurried, syncing with the calm pulse of the lake. Your eyes grow heavy, though you do not need to close them yet. Instead, you let them linger on the endless sky above, a sky that has sheltered countless lives, countless ages, and now shelters you. Eventually, you rise once more, but slowly, gently, as if pulled upward by the breeze itself. You walk along the edge of the lake, your reflection following faithfully in the water beside you. Step after step, you feel your body lighter, your thoughts softer, as though the stillness of the lake has become part of you. The path curves, and carries you once again toward the forests at the edge of the valley. The trees here are tall and ancient, their trunks massive, their roots deep and gnarled. Moss covers their bases, soft to the touch, cool beneath your fingers. As you step into the forest, the canopy above dims the light, turning it golden green, as though the sun itself has chosen to filter gently here. The air grows hushed, quieter than the valley outside, filled with a reverent stillness. You walk slowly between the trunks, your footsteps muffled by layers of fallen leaves. Every sound feels sacred here, the faint creak of wood, the whisper of leaves high above, the distant drip of water seeping through roots and stone. The deeper you walk, the more it feels as though you are moving not just through space, but through time. The trees stand like pillars of memory, each one older than generations, older than anything you can fully grasp. You pause, laying a hand against the bark of one, and close your eyes. For a moment, you imagine the centuries it has seen, rains that fed it, the storms that tested it, the endless cycles of growth and rest. You feel its patience, its strength, its quiet endurance, and in its presence, you too feel steady, as though anchored to the deep, unmoving core of the earth. You move onward, and soon you find a small clearing within the forest. Light filters down in broken beams, illuminating ferns and wildflowers that grow in abundance here. The air is fragrant with their subtle scent, sweet but not overwhelming. A gentle breeze moves through the clearing, bending the plants in unison, like a slow, graceful dance. You step into the light and pause, breathing deeply, feeling the warmth of the sun once more on your skin. Here, in the heart of the forest, time feels suspended. The clearing invites you to rest again, and so you do, lowering yourself into the grass. You watch the shadows shift slowly across the ground. Watch the way the light paints the world, soft and fleeting. The sounds of the forest remain gentle, a chorus of whispers that never intrude. And as you rest, you feel once more that deep, unshakable sense of connection to the land, to the sky, to the sky, to the cycles of time that move endlessly, patiently, tenderly. The clearing fades behind you as you rise again, walking slowly into the embrace of the forest once more. The trees seem to lean closer now, their branches arching overhead like a cathedral made not of stone, but of living wood and leaves. The air here is cooler, still fragrant with moss and earth, and the ground feels cushioned, as though the forest itself has prepared a path for your steps. Your pace is unhurried. Every sound, every crack of a twig, every faint rustling, softly, but without urgency. It is as though the forest wishes only to remind you that it is alive, breathing alongside you. Above, shafts of sunlight break through the canopy, illuminating dust motes that drift lazily in the air, tiny golden flecks suspended like stars in daylight. After some time, you notice a faint sound ahead, low and steady. It grows gradually, not rushing toward you, but patiently arriving. The forest begins to thin, the trees opening into another glade. And here you see a waterfall cascading from a high cliff, tumbling down into a pool of shimmering water. The sound is soothing, rhythmic, like the earth whispering its secrets through the endless movement of water. You approach carefully, feeling the mist cool against your skin. The air is filled with moisture, carrying the scent of stone and mineral, ancient and grounding. The pool below the falls is clear, reflecting both the rock above and the trees that encircle it. You sit at the water's edge, the soft grass beneath, you damp with mist, and close your eyes to listen. The waterfall's voice is both steady and gentle, a continuous stream of sound that seems to wash your thoughts clean, leaving only stillness. Time drifts here. The sun above shifts slowly, casting shadows that move like hands across the pool. The water sparkles, each droplet catching the light as it falls, as if scattering pieces of sunlight back into the air. You breathe deeply, letting the rhythm of the falls settle into your chest, guiding your breath into the same steady flow. In this moment, nothing is needed, nothing is lacking. The world simply is, and you, too, simply are. After a while, you rise again and continue past the waterfall, following the stream it feeds. The water moves playfully now, no longer thundering but whispering, weaving its way over stones polished, smooth by centuries of flow. Small fish flicker beneath the surface, quick and darting, their silver scales flashing briefly before vanishing again into the depths. The stream seems to guide you, curving gently, leading you deeper into the land. Soon, the trees part once more, and you find yourself at the edge of a wide plain. The grasses here sway in endless waves, golden and green, rippling as the breeze moves across them. The horizon stretches impossibly far, the land rolling gently until it meets the pale blue sky. In the distance, herds of great creatures graze, peaceful giants, their long necks rising and dipping as they feed. They move slowly, deliberately, their presence both powerful and calm. Their calls echo faintly, low and resonant, carrying across the plain like the deep tones of a distant instrument. You watch them for a long while, marveling at the harmony of their movement. They are not hurried, not restless, but steady, untroubled, living in rhythm with the earth around them. Their forms may be unfamiliar, their shapes vast and ancient, but their stillness speaks a language you understand instinctively. It is the language of belonging, of being part of something greater, something whole. Walking further onto the plain, the grass brushes softly against your legs, releasing its earthy fragrance into the air. The sky overhead feels vast, boundless, painted with drifting clouds that cast slow-moving shadows across the land. You lie down in the grass for a moment, letting it cradle you. The blades cool against your skin. From here, the world feels endless. The herds move distantly, the clouds drift patiently, and the air hums quietly with life. As your eyes close, you imagine how many ages this plain has seen, how many dawns have risen here, how many nights have stretched their starlight across its expanse. The earth remembers them all, holding them gently, layer upon layer, in its soil and stone. And now, in this quiet moment, you too are part of that memory, part of the great, unbroken chain. When you rise again, the plain continues to unfold before you, but your path bends gently toward a line of hills in the distance. Their slopes are soft and rounded, their colors shifting with the light, sometimes green, sometimes golden, sometimes touched with the violet hue of shadow. You walk toward them unhurried, each step carrying you deeper into calmness, deeper into the story of this ancient world. The hills rise gradually before you, each step bringing you closer to their quiet embrace. As you ascend the gentle slope, the grass is thin, giving way to patches of wildflowers that bloom in soft colors, pale blues, muted purples, delicate whites. Their petals sway with the wind, releasing faint, sweet fragrances that drift and mingle in the air. The path upward is not steep, but steady, guiding you higher, until the plain stretches out behind you in a sweeping panorama. From here, the herds below appear smaller, moving like slow shadows across the golden grass. The stream winds its way across the land like a silver thread, sparkling wherever the light touches it. Above, the sky deepens, its blue vast and unbroken, its clouds stretched thin into wisps that resemble brushstrokes across a canvas dot. As you climb, you notice the quiet of this place, the sound of insects humming, the rustle of leaves in distant trees, and the sighing wind together create a symphony that is both delicate and infinite. Every sound belongs, each one blending seamlessly into the silence between. At last, you reach the crest of the hill. Here the world opens even further. Beyond the plain lies another vast expanse, a rolling sea of forest, its canopy spreading endlessly, a living ocean of green. The treetops shift in waves as the wind passes over them, the motion continuous, alive. In the far distance, mountains rise sharply, their peaks veiled in a faint blue haze, their forms ancient and immovable, as though they have been watching over the land since the dawn of time. You sit upon the hill's crest, the ground warm beneath you, the breeze steady at your back. From this vantage, the earth feels impossibly wide, endless in every direction, yet somehow close, connected, whole. The horizon curves softly, its edges glowing faintly where sky and land meet. Time seems to loosen here. Minutes drift into hours, without distinction, and the light of the sun moves slowly across the land, deepening shadows, brightening colors, until eventually it begins to dip lower in the sky. The grasses on the plain turn golden, the forest darkens into deep emerald, and the mountains catch the last light, their ridges glowing as though carved from fire. You rise gently and begin your descent, following a narrow path that winds down the opposite side of the hill. The air cools here, shaded by the slope, and the sound of water reaches your ears, again softer than the waterfall, but insistent, steady. Soon, you discover a hidden stream, its waters clear and cold, moving quickly. Between smooth stones, you kneel beside it, touching the surface lightly with your fingers, the chill grounding you, anchoring you to this moment of calm. The stream guides you once more, leading you through a small valley where trees stand close together. Their trunks are tall, their bark patterned with time, and their roots twist into the earth like veins. Here, the light filters down in fragments, speckling the ground with shifting patterns of gold and shadow. Birds sing faintly, their calls echoing between the trees, delicate and distant, as if woven into the fabric of the forest itself. Walking slowly, you feel the presence of this place deepen. The forest is not just alive, it is aware, patient, holding a memory of all that has passed across its soil. Each step feels like an invitation, a reminder that you are welcome here, that you too are part of this long story. Eventually, the forest opens once more, and you find yourself standing before a lake. Its surface is vast and still, reflecting the sky so perfectly that it seems as though the world is doubled, above and below. The colors of sunset spill across its water, shades of amber, rose, and violet, merging softly into one another. The air is cool, carrying the faint scent of water, fresh and clean, tinged with the earthy fragrance of reeds along the shore. You sit by the water's edge, the soft earth beneath you, and let your gaze rest on the surface of the lake. Small ripples appear now and then, breaking the reflection gently, then fading back into stillness. The calm is profound here, so deep that even your thoughts seem too quiet, dissolving into the expanse of sky and water. As night begins to fall, stars emerge one by one, their reflections shimmering upon the lake's surface. The air grows cooler still, the world hushed, and the first song of crickets begins in the grasses nearby. You draw in a slow breath, and as you exhale, the vastness of time and earth seems to settle around you like a blanket, ancient, endless, and deeply, deeply peaceful. The night deepens gently around the lake, and the sky above becomes a vast, endless dome, painted with countless stars. They appear one after another, until the heavens are alive with shimmering lights, each one a quiet reminder of the immensity of the universe. Some glimmer faintly, far and distant, while others shine bright, their light steady and strong. The Milky Way arcs across the darkness like a river of pale fire, stretching from one horizon to the other, an eternal bridge connecting earth and sky. The lake mirrors this celestial spectacle, holding the stars within its stillness. As you sit beside it, it feels as though you are suspended between two infinities, one above, one below, both vast, both endless, both timeless. The cool air carries the faintest hint of dew, and with every breath, you feel calmer, more grounded, more connected to the rhythm of this ancient world. A soft wind stirs across the surface of the water, sending gentle ripples outward. They catch the starlight, scattering it into fragments that dance briefly, then vanish. The trees along the shoreline sway faintly with the movement of the air, their silhouettes dark and graceful, their branches whispering secrets to the night. You rise slowly and begin to walk along the edge of the lake. The ground here is soft with moss, damp but welcoming, muffling the sound of your steps so that you move almost without a trace. The path curves gently, leading you deeper into the embrace of the forest that surrounds the water. Fireflies appear, here and there, their lights pulsing faintly, drifting lazily through the air like tiny stars that have come down to join the earth. The forest grows thicker as you walk, its canopy overhead forming a woven tapestry of leaves and branches. The light of the stars filters through in broken fragments, flickering as the trees sway. The air feels cooler, richer, filled with the earthy fragrance of moss, bark, and leaf. Somewhere in the distance, an owl calls, its voice deep and resonant, a sound that seems to echo through the stillness of time itself. Eventually, the path opens again, leading you to a small clearing where the ground is carpeted in soft grasses. In the center of the clearing stands a single, ancient tree, its trunk wide and weathered, its branches reaching high into the night. The bark is rough, marked with patterns that seem almost like writing, as though the tree has recorded the history of all that has passed in this land. You sit beneath it, leaning gently against the trunk, and feel its strength beneath your back. The tree seems alive with quiet energy, steady and unhurried, as if its roots extend not only through the earth, but through time itself. Above you, the branches sway lightly, framing glimpses of the stars, each one like a window into eternity. Here, beneath this ancient guardian, you feel a stillness so profound that it seems to dissolve every boundary between yourself and the world. The earth, the air, the water, the stars, they are no longer separate things, but one continuous presence, infinite and eternal. Your breathing slows, matching the rhythm of the night, until it feels as though the universe itself is breathing. With you, every inhale draws in the cool fragrance of earth and sky, and every exhale releases it back, blending seamlessly into the vastness around you. Time drifts softly, without edges, without urgency. The night continues its patient unfolding, stars wheeling slowly overhead, the lake beyond the trees holding its quiet reflection, and you remain beneath the tree, resting, listening, being, as the ancient earth cradles you in its endless calm. The tree beneath which you rest seems to hum with quiet life, and as you lean against its ancient trunk, you begin to sense the deep patience of the earth itself. Its roots spread far below the soil, reaching into layers that have known countless ages, touching stones that were once part of mountains now worn away, tracing minerals shaped when the planet itself was young. Each ring within the tree's core holds stories of seasons long past, rains that nourished, storms that tested, and gentle suns that warmed. You feel as though you are leaning against time itself, unbroken and endless. The night sky overhead shifts slowly, the stars moving almost imperceptibly. Yet with each glance, their positions feel subtly changed, reminding you of the vast celestial clock that has been turning for billions of years. A soft breeze glides through the clearing, rustling the grass and stirring the leaves above, creating a lullaby woven of air and earth. Closing your eyes, you allow the sounds to wash over you, the murmur of branches, the faint chorus of distant insects, the quiet lap of water against the lake's shore. They merge into a single, soothing rhythm, a song of nature that has no beginning and no end. It is the same song that may have drifted through this land during the time of Pangea, when all the continents were one, when the earth was young and filled with mysteries yet to unfold. As you listen, you imagine what it might have been like in those distant ages. The air perhaps richer with warmth, the land stretching endlessly without the divisions of oceans as we know them now. Forests vast and unbroken, rivers winding through plains that stretched for thousands of miles, ancient creatures wandering across landscapes untamed and boundless. Your mind drifts deeper, slipping between the present and the imagined past. You see the outline of mountains rising like guardians of the horizon, their slopes clothed in dense vegetation. You hear the low rumble of rivers carving their way through valleys, carrying the lifeblood of the land. The earth during Pangea feels both strange and familiar, a world connected by unity, a single continent resting upon the globe. The stars above remain unchanged, shining then as they do now, silent witnesses to the slow unfolding of time. Their light falls equally on all ages, on all moments, indifferent to the passing of civilizations, to the rise and fall of mountains, to the shifting of seas. And as you sit in the clearing beneath the tree, you feel the gentle weight of their eternal presence. Steady and calming, the cool air caresses your skin, and your breathing becomes slower, deeper, in rhythm with the land. The grass beneath you cradles your body, and the tree behind you anchors you to the stillness of the night. You sense no rush, no urgency, only the endless unfolding of time, measured not in minutes or hours, but in the eternal breath of the earth. A faint shimmer of mist begins to rise from the lake nearby, drifting silently through the trees. It curls around trunks and drapes itself across the forest floor, softening the shapes of the world, turning everything into a dream. The air grows cooler still, and the stars seem brighter against the deepening dark. The night is vast, infinite, yet tender, embracing all that exists within it. Here, in this moment, you are part of that embrace. The world holds you gently, like a leaf resting upon the surface of still water, like a star suspended within the vast sky. The past and the present blur together, and all that remains is the quiet rhythm of existence, timeless and unending. The mist thickens gently, wrapping the world in a veil of silver. You breathe it in, cool and refreshing, carrying the faint scent of earth and leaves. It feels as though the night itself has become softer, gentler, more protective, as though the land is inviting you deeper into its timeless embrace. Every sound is muted, cushioned by the fog, and the forest seems to settle into a deeper stillness. Your mind begins to wander once more, carried on the rhythm of your breath and the quiet lull of the earth. You drift back to the imagined world of Pangea, where such nights must have unfolded countless times before. In that ancient age, the mist might have rolled across vast plains, cloaking herds of creatures in mystery as they moved slowly through the dawn or dusk. Forests larger than any that exist today may have stood shrouded in such fog, their canopies stretching like green oceans above, their roots drinking deeply from ancient rivers. You picture yourself walking along one of those primeval rivers, the air warm and heavy with moisture. Strange plants arch overhead, their leaves broad and glistening, their shapes both alien and familiar. The water moves slowly, carrying fragments of fallen leaves downstream, where it will join with other rivers, other currents, until it reaches a sea without borders. The great Panthalassa, that once surrounded the single landmass of Pangea, river whispers as it flows, its sound as timeless as any lullaby. You pause at its edge, dipping your hand into the cool current, watching the ripples spread outward in gentle circles. Each ripple moves into the next, a quiet reminder of how even the smallest motion becomes part of something larger, how every moment is carried into the endless flow of time. Looking upward, you see the stars reflected on the surface of the water, their lights shimmering with each passing wave. It is as if two skies exist, one above, infinite and vast, and one below, just as endless, mirrored in the river's quiet surface. You stand between them, suspended in a moment where the boundaries of earth and sky blur, where time itself feels less like a straight line and more like a gentle, eternal tide. The longer you stand by the river, the more it feels alive, not just with water, but with memory. Perhaps these same waters, in some ancient form, once flowed during Pangea's reign, nourishing forests, quenching the thirst of creatures long vanished. Perhaps the same cycle of mist, rain, and river has repeated endlessly, changing only in shape, never in essence. The thought brings a soft calm, as if you were touching something eternal, something that connects all ages and all beings. You step back from the river's edge and return to the open plain, where the mist swirls low across the grasses. In the distance, you see the faint rise of hills, their outlines softened by fog, their peaks crowned with shadows of trees. The silence is profound, broken only by the occasional whisper of wind. The land feels both vast and intimate, stretching far beyond sight, yet cradling you in its stillness. As you walk, each step sinks slightly into the damp earth, the ground cool beneath your feet. The rhythm of your footsteps merges with the rhythm of your breath, until walking feels less like movement and more like floating, as if the land itself is carrying you gently forward. Time loses its edges. Past, present, and future dissolve into a single flow, as seamless as the rivers of Pangea, as unbroken as the stars above. The night deepens, and the mist glows faintly in the starlight, as if illuminated from within. It feels alive, not with urgency, but with patience, with an ancient calm that has been present since the very beginning. You walk deeper into it, each breath carrying you further into rest, into stillness, into the gentle heart of the earth's memory. The mist parts, as though it has been waiting for you, revealing a wide valley stretching into the distance. The valley is quiet, yet filled with presence. Shadows of ancient forests linger at its edges, their trees standing tall and solemn, their leaves whispering softly in the night air. The ground beneath your feet is covered with soft grass that bends gently, cushioning each step, as though the earth itself is welcoming you to rest within its embrace. The stars above shine more brightly now, their reflections dancing on the thin veil of mist that lies close to the ground. They seem to form shapes, constellations that hint at stories too old to remember, stories that were told long before human voices existed. You pause and look upward, your gaze wandering among those countless points of light. Some of these stars burned in the skies of Pangea, casting their glow upon forests where creatures stirred, upon oceans that stretched without borders. Others are gone now, their light reaching you only as a final echo, a reminder of time's endless rhythm. You imagine lying down in the heart of this valley, the cool grass beneath you, the vastness of the night above. In this place, there is no rush, no need for thought. The silence carries you, soft and deep, and you feel the boundaries of your body dissolve into the landscape. The valley becomes a cradle, a gentle curve of the land that holds you, as if you are part of the earth itself. In this dreamlike state, your mind drifts backward through time again. You see the valley as it might have been in the age of Pangea, when the land was young, when life was still unfolding in shapes both strange and beautiful. Towering ferns rose where now grass lies. Rivers cut deeper channels, rushing with the energy of untamed waters. Creatures of forms unfamiliar moved across the land, some small and cautious, others immense and slow, all part of the great harmony of existence. The air in that time was thick with oxygen, carrying a freshness that would have felt intoxicating to breathe. Every gust of wind carried the scent of greenery, of life expanding across the landmass of Pangea. Insects with wings like stained glass drifted on breezes, their hum a soft undertone to the chorus of the forest. Reptiles, some no larger than your hand, others vast as hillsides, made their slow, deliberate way through the undergrowth. And above it all, the sky stretched endlessly, unmarred by human light, a canvas painted only with stars and drifting clouds. You imagine walking slowly through that world, every sense attuned to the rhythm of the land. The ground would be firm beneath your feet, yet alive with unseen motion, as roots and rivers and creatures below carried on their timeless work. The soundscape would be gentle and continuous wind, moving through towering plants, the distant call of an animal echoing softly, the constant murmur of streams feeding into greater waters. It would be a world both strange and familiar, a reminder of how deeply life and earth are entwined. The thought carries you into an even deeper stillness, for in that ancient age, there was no separation between earth and sky, between life and landscape. Everything existed in one continuous flow, just as your thoughts drift now like clouds across the mind. And in this moment, lying in the valley of your imagination, you feel a reflection of that unity, that quiet wholeness, where nothing is separate and everything simply is. The mist thickens again, rolling back into the valley, covering the land. Like a blanket, the stars blur softly, their light becoming diffused, gentle, like candles burning behind a veil. You breathe in, slowly, deeply, and the cool air fills you with calm. Each breath seems to draw you further inward, as though you are traveling not across the valley but into the heart of stillness itself. Time continues to unravel, its edges fading, leaving only the eternal rhythm of breath, of silence, of earth. You let go a little more, feeling the weight of your body melt into the ground. The valley holds you tenderly, as though it has been waiting through ages just for this moment of rest. The land of Pangea may be gone, dissolved by the slow drift of continents, but its memory lingers in the soil, in the rivers, in the very stones beneath you. And now, for this quiet moment, you are part of that memory, part of the earth's endless story. The mist continues to rise and fall like the rhythm of the ocean's tide, breathing softly over the valley floor. Each movement of the mist feels alive, as though the earth itself exhales slowly, wrapping you in its timeless breath. You walk without hurry, each step carrying you deeper into the dream of ages past. The silence around you rich and full. A low sound hums in the distance, not a noise of disturbance, but of harmony, like the earth resonating softly with itself. It reminds you of the way seas once lapped gently against the shores of Pangea, their waves stretching across coasts that reached for thousands upon thousands of miles. You can almost hear the rolling surf, its sound deep and rhythmic, filling the silence of the ancient night. The air seems to thicken with memory. Shapes emerge through the veil of mist, shadows of forests long gone, echoes of rivers that carved their way through stone long since buried. The world around you begins to feel layered, as though every step touches not just the present ground, but the footprints of countless ages. The earth is a library, and each breath of wind turns another page in its endless book. You pause near a great stone rising from the ground, its surface worn and rounded, yet still standing tall. It feels as though it has been here since Pangea itself, watching silently as continents drifted, as oceans widened, as forests grew and withered, and as the first creatures of every era came and went. You place your hand upon the stone in your imagination, and it is cool, calm, steady. It holds no rush, no urgency. It simply exists, as it always has, through every changing shape of the earth. As you rest there, you imagine the stone watching the forests of Pangea stretch across the horizon. It would have seen rivers sparkle in the dawn light, carrying with them the reflections of mountains, still young and jagged. It would have heard the sounds of creatures now lost to time, their voices blending into the natural music of wind and water. Perhaps it even felt the vibrations of the great reptiles as they moved across the land, their weight pressing gently into the earth. The night deepens. The stars above feel closer now, as though they lean down to listen. You notice the constellations shifting slowly, and it occurs to you that these same stars, or their ancestors, cast their glow upon Pangea as it thrived. Long before the continents split, before mountains rose and seas widened, the stars shone, quietly, bearing witness. And now, they shine again, unchanged in their patient vigil. You lie back against the grass and stone, your body supported by the land, your mind carried lightly on the stream of thought. Breathing slows, thoughts dissolve, and what remains is simply presence. The valley, the stars, the memory of Pangea, they are all part of a vast, gentle flow, a current that carries you softly, endlessly forward. In that flow, you drift further into imagination. You see the forests of Pangea not only as they would, but as living beings in themselves, each tree a guardian of time, each leaf a keeper of secrets. You picture vast groves of towering plants whose fronds reach toward the sky like open hands, catching light from a sun that seemed brighter, warmer, more direct. Between those plants, rivers coiled, feeding life with their silver threads. Every ripple carried with it the reflection of sky and star, a constant reminder of the unity between earth and heavens. The sound of your breath becomes the sound of wind passing through ancient leaves. The rise and fall of your chest becomes the rise and fall of the ocean's waves. Slowly, steadily, you are no longer separate from the memory of Pangea. You are part of it, resting in the same rhythm, cradled in the same stillness. The mist folds in around you once more, softening every edge, every boundary, until there is no longer a line between you and the world. There is only peace, the quiet unfolding of time, and the deep, infinite rest that the earth has always known. Asterisk. The mist that wraps around you begins to thin, and with each gentle breath of wind, it parts to reveal more of the dreamlike landscape. Rolling hills emerge from the veil, their curves soft and ancient, as though shaped not by force but by endless patience. They stretch out into the distance, quiet reminders of a world that has been remade countless times yet always holds its silence close. Above, the stars shimmer with a kind of kindness, their light falling gently upon the hills, the valleys, and upon you. It is the same light that once brushed the leaves of Pangea's forests, glimmering across the surface of its wide rivers, reflecting in the eyes of the creatures that roamed its plains. That light has traveled across ages unbroken, carrying with it the memory of everything it has touched. You rise slowly, in no hurry, and begin to walk once more. The ground beneath your feet feels steady, as if it carries the weight of time itself, supporting you the way it has supported every life before you. Each step lands with quiet assurance, grounding you deeper in the stillness of this ancient dream. As you walk, the landscape shifts again, and you find yourself upon the shores of a vast inland sea. The water stretches beyond sight, its surface perfectly calm, mirroring the stars above with flawless clarity. The air is cool and filled with the faint scent of salt and stone. You kneel at the water's edge, and when your hand dips into the surface, the ripples spread slowly outward, circles upon circles, like the passing of ages. In those ripples, visions appear of the world as it once was. Forests rise tall on the far horizon, their shapes unfamiliar yet beautiful, their branches swaying in a rhythm as old as the earth itself. Gentle creatures graze upon the grasses that line the water, their movements slow and peaceful, untouched by any threat. In their eyes, the reflection of stars sparkles, connecting them to the same vast sky that watches over you now. The water whispers softly, each ripple a voice of time. It speaks of the unity of Pangea, when all land was joined, when oceans encircled a single, great continent. It tells of the harmony of rivers winding through valleys, of storms rolling across plains, of life unfolding in cycles too vast for a single lifetime to hold. And as you listen, your breathing falls into rhythm with those whispers, slower, calmer, carried along the flow of memory. A breeze moves across the water, carrying with it the faintest music, a sound not of instruments, but of nature itself, wind through leaves, waves against stone, the low hum of the earth's deep currents. It is soft, so soft, yet it resonates within you, like an echo of something you have always known but long forgotten. You close your eyes, letting the sound wash over you. For a moment, you are no longer by the water but within it, floating gently, supported by its calm embrace. The stars above shimmer through the surface, their light stretching down to you in ribbons of silver. Time dissolves. You are in the present, and you are in the past. You are part of the stillness that has always been here, waiting quietly beneath the surface of things. When you open your eyes again, the landscape is shifted once more. The water recedes, the stars grow brighter, and the ground beneath you stretches into a wide, open plain. Tall grasses sway in the night air, moving like waves across an endless sea of green. Their soft motion makes a whispering sound, a lullaby, sung by the earth itself. You lie down among them, feeling their gentle touch as they sway around you, brushing your skin with cool, feathery strokes. The grasses rock you like a cradle, their rhythm unhurried, steady, infinite. Above, the stars pulse with a deep serenity. Their light flows down through the grasses, through the plain, through the earth, until it reaches you, filling you with a quiet certainty that everything is as it should be. And in this certainty, your thoughts drift further into stillness. The story of Pangea continues, but there is no need to rush to follow it. You are already within it, resting in the very heart of its dream. Carried softly on its endless breath. The grasses slowly fade into mist, as if drawn back into the breath of the earth. The air grows cooler, and a hush settles around you, deeper than before. Out of the silence rises the faint outline of mountains, their peaks softened by distance and time. They do not rise sharply but instead curve gently, their shapes rounded, worn down by countless ages. They stand like guardians of memory, watching with patience that stretches far beyond imagination. As you approach, the mountains seem to hum, with a quiet vibration, as though each stone carries its own echo of the earth's deep song. That song is not hurried, nor is it loud. It is slow, steady, resonant, as if the mountains themselves are breathing. You place your hand against the rock, cool and textured, and in that moment you feel as though you are touching not only stone, but history itself. The air around the peaks is filled with a faint shimmer, a kind of twilight glow, neither night nor day, but something in between. Within this glow, visions unfold. You see the mountains when they were young, when their shapes were jagged and bold, when rivers carved paths through their sides, carrying fragments of stone down to valleys below. You see them sheltering forests, cradling lakes, and echoing with the calls of creatures long vanished. Each vision passes like a dream, leaving only stillness in its wake. You climb gently, each step effortless, as though the mountain itself is carrying you upward. The higher you rise, the softer the air becomes, until it feels almost like silk brushing against your skin. The world below fades into a soft blur of green and blue, while the stars above grow clearer, sharper, nearer. At the summit, you find not a sharp peak but a wide plateau, flat and open, as though made for rest. The stone is smooth, warmed by the gentle glow that surrounds everything here. You lie down upon it, and it feels as though you are lying not on rock, but on the surface of time itself, endless, steady, eternal. From this height, the view is limitless. You see the world stretched out before you, its rivers winding like silver threads, its forests rolling like oceans of green, its plains vast and endless. And yet, it all seems calm, motionless, as if the world has paused for you to see it in its quiet perfection. Above, the stars continue their slow dance. They appear larger now, closer, their light steady and unwavering. They seem to lean down, as if curious, as if they too wish to rest here upon this ancient summit. Their glow seeps into you, filling your body with warmth, with quietness, with the certainty that you are part of something vast and kind. The mountain hum grows softer, lower, until it feels like a lullaby rising from deep within the earth. It resonates through your body, loosening any last remnants of tension, softening every corner of your mind. You feel yourself becoming lighter, as though your breath has merged with the mountain's breath, as though you are no longer separate from the stillness around you. Time drifts by unnoticed. Perhaps it is moments, perhaps it is centuries. The stars shift slowly, and the glow deepens. The mountain remains steady beneath you, its song unbroken, its patience infinite. And as you rest upon its summit, you realize that you, too, are infinite in this moment, touched by time, carried by stillness, embraced by the same breath that has carried worlds before you. The mist begins to rise again, gentle and cool, wrapping around the plateau in soft folds. It curls through the air like a blanket, veiling the horizon, softening the stars, wrapping you in its quiet embrace. With each breath, the mist thickens, not to obscure, but to comfort, to cocoon you in peace. The mountain hum lingers, fading into silence, until all that remains is your breath, steady, calm, unhurried. And as the mist carries you once more, you drift into an even deeper stillness, deeper than mountains, deeper than time. The dream continues, unbroken, waiting patiently for you to wander further. The mist carries you onward, folding gently around you like a protective veil. You feel weightless, drifting through a quiet expanse where there is no sense of direction, only the calm rhythm of stillness. The deeper you go, the softer the world becomes, as though everything is dissolving into the slow current of a dream. As the haze thins, a new vision emerges. You find yourself above a vast coastline, where the sea and land meet in endless embrace. The shore stretches far in both directions, curving gently until it disappears into the horizon. The tide rolls in slowly, each wave rising with delicate grace, folding upon itself, and retreating with a sigh. The water glows faintly under the touch of the moonlight, silver and soft, as though the ocean itself is made of light. The air is cool, scented with salt, and the faint fragrance of ancient stone, smoothed by centuries of waves. Every breath you take carries with it a sense of eternity, of cycles repeating beyond memory. You drift downward, hovering just above the shoreline. The sand is dark and fine, glistening with the retreating foam of the tide. Each grain feels alive, holding within it fragments of stories written over millions of years. The waves wash over the sand with a steady rhythm, pulling away the surface, only to return again, shaping the land with infinite patience. As you glide along the coast, you see shapes beneath the water, moving slowly, gracefully. They are vast, larger than any modern creature you have known, yet they move with a softness that belies their size. Their long forms weave through the shallow waters like ribbons of shadow, rising occasionally to breach the surface with a soundless arc, leaving ripples that expand into glowing rings across the moonlit sea. These beings seem ancient, as though they belonged to a time when the ocean ruled the earth. Their movements are calm, deliberate, in harmony with the waves. They do not rush, they do not struggle, they drift with the current, part of the great breath of the ocean itself. Watching them, you feel your own rhythm slow, matching theirs, as if your breath and the tide are moving together. Farther along the shore, the land rises into cliffs of smooth stone, carved by countless ages of wind and wave. You drift upward to their summit, where the ocean spreads endlessly before you. The stars above reflect in its surface, and for a moment it feels as though the sea and sky are one, a single vast mirror folding upon itself. You pause here, suspended between worlds, listening to the soft song of the ocean below. Its voice is constant, steady, without beginning or end. The waves do not hurry, the tides do not falter. Their patience is infinite, their strength hidden in gentleness. The night deepens, and the air grows stiller. You feel the cliffs breathing with you, the sea breathing with you, the stars above breathing with you. There is no separation, only one vast, steady rhythm carrying you deeper into calm. And as you listen, you realize that the ocean has always been singing this song. Long before cities, long before mountains, even long before the shifting of continents, the sea has spoken in these steady tones. It has whispered to the shore, sung to the wind, and lulled the earth to rest. Tonight, it sings to you, inviting you into its endless dream. The mist rises once more, gentle and soft, wrapping you in its embrace. The cliffs, the sea, the stars, all dissolve into its whiteness. You drift forward, carried deeper into the journey, deeper into timeless silence, where only the rhythm of your breath and the echo of the ocean remain. The mist thins again, and you find yourself above a wide open plain. The land stretches endlessly in every direction, covered in grasses that move like waves beneath the breath of a gentle wind. Their motion is soft and steady, each blade leaning and swaying, then rising again, as if the earth itself is breathing through them. The plain is quiet, but not empty. Small forms move across it, herds of gentle creatures, grazing slowly, their movements unhurried. Their shapes are unfamiliar, yet there is comfort in their presence. They travel together, never alone, bound by a silent connection that flows between them. The sky above them is vast, painted with streaks of pale silver and faint hues of blue, the colors shifting gently as though the heavens themselves are in a state of constant dreaming. The light is neither day nor night, but something in between, a soft, eternal twilight that wraps the world in calm. Thus you drift lower, the details of the land become clearer. Pools of still water dot the plain, mirroring the sky like fragments of glass. When the wind touches them, ripples expand outward in circles, disappearing slowly, as if time itself moves more gently here. The creatures move toward these pools, lowering their heads to drink. The sound is delicate, the splash of lips against water, the faint rustle of grass, the whisper of the wind across the open space. Each sound rises and fades without disturbing the silence, becoming part of the landscape's eternal rhythm. You hover near one pool, watching as the surface smooths again, reflecting the twilight sky. For a moment, you see more than just reflection. You see memories shimmering within the water, visions of forests that once stood here, of rivers that carved through stone, of mountains rising and falling. The pool remembers, holding every change, every cycle, as though it is the memory of the earth itself. You drift onward, across the endless plain. The grasses brush one another with a sound like whispers, their voices carried on the wind. You listen closely, and you realize they are speaking of ages gone by, storms and seasons, of life that flourished and faded, of the unbroken passage of time. Far ahead, the horizon begins to shift. A line of low hills rises gently, their forms soft against the sky. The land seems to call you toward them, and you follow without effort, carried by the flow of the wind itself. As you approach, you see that the hills are covered in ancient stone, smooth and worn. Some stand tall like guardians, others lie scattered across the ground like fragments of forgotten monuments. You drift among them, and each stone hums with a quiet vibration, as though it still remembers the hands of time that shaped it. Here, the air is even more still. The grasses grow shorter, the pools fewer, and the silence deeper. You pause above the stones, breathing with the land, listening to the hum that resonates through the earth. It is steady, soft, and unbroken, like a lullaby meant for the planet itself. Slowly, the mist begins to rise again, curling around the stones, softening their edges, drawing you once more into its embrace. The plain, the creatures, the pools of memory all fade into the haze. Only the gentle rhythm of the earth remains, guiding you onward into the dream. Asterisk, asterisk. The mist carries you higher now, lifting you above the hills, and as you rise, the land below stretches wide once more. In every direction, the horizon unfolds like an endless painting, filled with soft colors and drifting light. The edges of the world seem blurred, as though you are gazing into a dream that has no boundaries. Below, rivers appear again, winding like silver threads across the plains. They shimmer as they move, catching every breath of light, bending gently around stone and grass, never rushing, never forcing their way. Their currents are patient, carrying the memory of mountains that once stood tall, and the promise of seas waiting far away. You followed the path of one river, drifting slowly above it. The air is cool and quiet, filled with the sound of water sliding over smooth stones. Each ripple, each splash, is soft and calming, blending with the silence until it becomes more like music than movement. On its banks, trees, graceful forms, their branches reaching outward like arms in a gentle embrace. Their leaves shimmer as they move in the breeze, creating waves of sound that wash over you, like a whisper of the forest itself. The branches sway in rhythm, bending and rising, as though they too breathe with the earth. The forest stretches outward, deep and inviting. You drift between the trunks, feeling the cool shade wrap around you. Sunlight filters gently through the leaves, scattering across the ground in shifting patterns of gold and shadow. Each step of light is delicate, softening the air, making it shimmer like a dream dot. As you drift deeper, you hear more sounds: the quiet hum of insects, the gentle calls of unseen creatures, the faint rustle of leaves falling from above. Nothing disturbs the peace. Each sound is part of the forest's lullaby, blending with the air, carrying you further into calm. You pause near a small clearing, where the ground is covered in soft moss. The moss glows faintly, as if it holds the last light of the sun within it, casting a gentle glow upward. It feels alive, breathing, a cushion of green that waits patiently, as if offering a place to rest. In the clearing's center lies a stone, smooth and round, half buried in the moss. You drift closer, and as your hand brushes its surface, you feel a quiet warmth, like a memory still living inside it. The stone whispers silently of the ages. It has seen the forests that grew and vanished, the rivers that shifted, the skies that changed, and the countless nights when the stars watched silently above. For a long moment, you stay here, listening. The forest, the stone, the moss, the river beyond all, merge into one rhythm, a harmony of earth and time. The longer you listen, the more you realize that nothing is separate. Every sound, every shape, every movement flows together as one dream, one great breath that continues without end. That the air grows cooler as twilight deepens. Shadows lengthen, and the first stars begin to shimmer faintly above the treetops. Their light is soft, almost hesitant, but steady. They do not pierce the darkness, they simply rest within it, adding a quiet beauty to the sky. You rise gently, leaving the clearing behind, moving higher through the branches, past the leaves, and into the open air above. The forest stretches below you, vast and endless, while the stars grow brighter overhead. Between them, the sky glows faintly, as though the night itself is alive with hidden light. Once again, the mist begins to gather. It curls around your path, drifting with you as you float higher, wrapping the land in soft veils of silver. The forest fades, the rivers fade, the stars remain. They guide you onward, into the next part of the dream. Asterisk, the mist lifts you gently, and as it clears, a new landscape emerges below. Rolling hills stretch into the distance, their slopes covered in tall grasses that move like waves beneath an unseen tide. The grasses shimmer with soft hues of silver and pale green, catching the glow of the night sky. They rise and fall in patterns, as though the earth itself is breathing slowly. As you drift lower, the scent of the open fields reaches you fresh, cool, carrying traces of wildflowers hidden among the grass. Their colors are faint under the moonlight, but their presence is felt, delicate touches of blue, violet, and white, scattered across the land. The wind flows gently across the hills, whispering through the grasses with a sound like 1,000 tiny voices humming in harmony. Each blade bends and sways, brushing against the next, creating endless ripples that move outward in circles of calm. The sound is soothing, like an old lullaby carried by the earth itself. You let the wind guide you forward, and soon, a wide valley opens before you. A river curls gracefully through it, wide and calm, its surface like polished glass reflecting the stars above. Along its edges, clusters of reeds rise tall, their tips swaying softly as if nodding to the rhythm of the water's flow. The river bends and widens, and at its center lies a small island, a gentle mound covered in trees. The trees lean outward, their branches arching toward the water, forming a canopy that looks like a cradle upon the surface. The reflection of the branches shimmers, doubling the image so that the island seems to float between two skies, one above, one below. You drift toward the island and pause among the trees. The air here feels still, as if time has slowed. Leaves stir quietly overhead, and the earth beneath your feet is soft, scattered with fallen petals glowing faintly in the dim light. The silence here is deep, but not empty. It is the kind of silence that holds warmth, like a gentle pause in a song. As you rest within this quiet jut, you notice the sound of water dripping from the branches into the river below. Each drop falls slowly, steady and clear, joining the surface with a soft ripple that expands outward in perfect circles. The rhythm is unhurried, timeless, as though the island has been singing this song since the beginning of ages. After a while, the mist gathers once more, rising from the water and curling between the trunks. It does not obscure, but softens everything it touches, blending the edges of the world into gentle silver. The island fades, the river fades, and you rise again, drifting beyond the valley. Now the horizon glows faintly, not with the light of the sun, but with something softer, an aura, a pale radiance that seems to come from the land itself. As you move closer, you see vast plains stretching outward, dotted with crystal-like stones that catch the glow and scatter it in beams of soft color. They rise from the earth like frozen flames, translucent and shimmering, each one holding a light of its own. The plains feel endless, each step revealing new clusters of glowing crystal, some tall like towers, others small and delicate, like flowers blooming from the soil. Together, they create a quiet forest of light, spreading as far as you can see, bathing the land in hues of silver, blue, and pale violet. You drift slowly among them, feeling the calm deepen. The crystals hum faintly, each one releasing a soft tone that blends with the others into a harmony so gentle it is almost beyond hearing. The sound vibrates softly within your chest, soothing, grounding, wrapping you in a cocoon of peace. Higher and higher, the stars brighten above, answering the glow of the plains below. Sky and earth mirror one another, light above, light below, both vast and endless. You are suspended between them, floating gently, as though carried by two oceans, one of stars, one of crystal. Time dissolves in this glow. Minutes, hours, ages, it all feels the same, a flow without measure. The world holds you, the light embraces you, and you drift ever deeper into the calm. The glow of the crystal plains begins to soften now, their light dimming like candles at the close of an evening. One by one, the tones they release grow quieter, until they become no more than a faint hum at the edge of hearing. The air itself grows still, calm and steady, as though the land has settled into a deep rest. You drift slowly upward, leaving the glowing plains behind, and as you rise, the horizon stretches wider and wider, until it becomes the curve of the earth itself beneath you. The vastness of the world unfolds, oceans dark and endless, continents sleeping beneath veils of cloud. The stars above remain, steady and eternal, but they too seem softer now, fading into a deep and endless silence. For a moment, everything is suspended, the earth below, the stars above, the air that surrounds you. It is as though you are resting in the very pause between heartbeats, held gently in the quiet balance of all things. Your breath flows slowly, like the tide, in and out, steady and calm. Each inhale draws in the last echoes of this journey, the rivers, the forests, the mountains, the plains. Each exhale releases them, sending them back into the world, carried on the soft wind of memory. The mist returns one final time, rising around you like a veil of silver. It does not hide the world, but softens it completely, until the edges blur and dissolve. The land, the sky, the stars, and the rivers all become part of the same gentle light, merging into a single ocean of calm. Here, there is no past, no future, only this endless stillness, a space without weight, without measure, where you are cradled as though the universe itself is holding you close. The hum of the earth fades, the song of the stars quiets, and even the whisper of the wind grows distant, until only silence remains warm, infinite, soothing. You rest within it, carried deeper and deeper into the calm, drifting peacefully, endlessly, into the embrace of quiet sleep. Asterisk, asterisk.